Should we give him a couple of minutes? Yeah, it was.
Recording in progress.
It was. It was very crazy.
Rio Grande.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. We're giving one of our trustees a few minutes to get here. So if you all can just be a little patient with us, we'll get started here very shortly. Because if we were, we're at the hospital, huh, right? You guys ready? We'll just start. Yeah. We'll start. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm Lawrence Royale, and I'm calling the Wednesday, November 19th, 2025 meeting to order. The time is approximately 6:02. This meeting is streamed on the village website. The public can also participate via Zoom. Instructions and overall public participation guidance is listed on the website and on page 4 of the meeting packet. I will defer to our clerk to continue to read directions on how to access the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. The Village of Los Ranchos is providing the ability for the public to participate in hybrid meetings. As with any application, digital service, or software, the opportunity for failure can occur. Therefore, the village is not responsible for the inability to connect to the meeting either by Zoom meeting link or viewing via live stream. The meeting is being recorded and will be available online after the meeting on the village website.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Now, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Trustee Benavides?
Here.
Trustee Kiefer?
Here.
Trustee Ranovich? Trustee Raynow?
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you, everyone. Our chambers usually isn't this well decorated, but it is the season, so we welcome all of you to our meeting. And now we'll move to our item 4, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Are there any additions, corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now move to general public comment. Only those participants who signed up prior to the meeting can speak on topics that do not appear on the agenda under public comment and will be given 3 minutes to speak. To be fair to others waiting to speak, a timekeeper will make an announcement when the allotted time is up. Therefore, it is important to keep your comments short and plan on making your point as quickly as possible. No action can occur on these items. If you have questions, please feel free to contact staff during office hours. Danielle, Madam Clerk, would you please proceed by calling the individuals that have signed up for public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. Marcia Adams and company.
So good evening, Mayor and trustees. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Friends of Los Ranchos, and we would like to present to the village a check in the amount of $2,000 from the proceeds of the Los Ranchos community yard sale that was held last month. Many village residents contributed things for it, and many village residents also helped us out with the logistics of getting everything. This money that we're giving is dedicated to the memory of Joe Craig and is to be used for improving the Del Norte open space. And now my colleagues would like to say a few words as well.
Sure.
Thank you. Joe Craig helped find funding for all the open spaces in the village of Los Ranchos, and he was responsible for locating and finding funding to buy the Del Norte open space.
Joe proposed buying the Del Norte open space to 3 different mayors. Finally, Mayor Abraham listened and supported Joe's effort. And I just want to end with a quote. Jane Goodall, Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and numerous native tribes and conservationists like Joe all have observed that we take refuge in wide open spaces and nature's ability to comfort the soul and to lift the spirit.
Well, thank you very much. Do you have anything else? Thank you so much. Thank you for your efforts and for that nice conversation about our former mayor. And the check. And the check's always good.
So, thank you, Mayor. I just want to note the individuals were Marcia Adams, Gordine McKenzie, Nancy Nangeroni, and Marcia Smiley. With that, I'll call up Mr. David Montoya. If you would, please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
I thought it was 3 seconds.
That's what I was hoping for. David Montoya, 8831 4th Street Northwest. I just wanted to thank the trustees for all the hard work you do. I know you make a ton of money here, and that's a part of the deal. That's sarcastic. But I just want to tell you, I really appreciate it, all the hard work you've done over these years, and it's much appreciated because I don't think people recognize how much time this actually takes. But secondly, I wanted to come up here again. I've done this many, many times, and I hope that the board, and now I understand that in the period that follows, maybe you can take up some of these issues that come up during these public sessions. Maybe you can take it up later, but I would hope in the 2 months remaining that we would again think about upping the pay for our trustees and certainly for our mayor. I've asked for this for years because I think it's just wrong for us to request our trustees to be at various meetings and they get nothing. And you got to realize how important they are. When I recently attended an MRGCD meeting, they were really happy that our trustees took their time to go do this. And it's not a lot of money, but it's a recognition that they get paid for these things. And there should be a stipend. And I would like to see our mayors make 4 to 5 times what they're making right now. It's wrong. We're a Keystone community. We sit between the county, the city, and all the various entities around us, the Water Authority, MRGCD. We have the river next to us. We are a Keystone. So we're important, and we actually have a lot to offer the communities around us. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Denny Starner? If you would.
I'm Denny Starner, 521 Chavez Road, and I've taken the time previously to come up and bring up issues and, I don't want to say complain, but, so I thought I'd take the time to say thank you. I appreciate like the gentleman said earlier, the work that you do, because I've been here for 2 years now. I live on Chavez, 521, and I brought up the complaint or the issue around speeding, and we got speed bumps now, and I'm just elated that we have something there to, safety-wise, I think we're dead on, although I think they could be a little closer together because they just race from one speed bump to the next. So I thought it would cut down the sound too, the noise from the traffic, although again, they're from one speed bump to the next. So sounds probably about the same or maybe a little bit more. And the trucks with the trailers, they don't know how to slow down, and all their equipment goes boom, 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 boom. So we still have a little bit of a sound issue, but safety-wise, I think you guys are dead on, and I really appreciate you getting speed bumps on Chavez Road. And I'm all for a raise for everybody, but please don't increase my property taxes anymore. They're already too much. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vincent Sanchez?
We don't have property tax.
Good evening. Vincent Sanchez, 6802 Rio Grande. During last week's P&Z meeting, a discussion was started about reducing the number of seats on the Zoning Commission from 7 to 5. While I appreciate the desire is to streamline and increase efficiency, I believe the original intention of 7 was to have a larger representation of villagers and points of view. 2 more minds comparing and contrasting the planning and requests of villagers has only improved the discussion during the decision-making process. Even at times, I did not agree with the final decision. The discussion of aspects important to me still happened, instigated by 1 or 2 people outside of the 5 in agreement. I can't say I understand how people end up on the commission, but I did learn the post was 1 year. It seems like too short of a term. Some items rely on discussions and presentations more than a year old. And with any new position or team, it takes about a year to gel. What problems would be created by staggering 2-year terms? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Henry Schoner?
Henry Schonard, 6603 Elwood Drive. I've been here before. This is a bit of a broken record. I volunteer at Los Ranchos Elementary School, and I represent Los Ranchos on the Department of Senior Affairs Advisory Council. I've developed attitude, and I think in a word, I'd like all of Los Ranchos community to consider the kids at Los Ranchos Elementary as their kids. That would be the main reason I'm up here. I want to say that over and over. I would like to see an education committee formed like the agriculture, the ag committee. And I think that has been a real, they've been really good leaders. I'd like to see that happen with education. We are an aging community, to put it mildly. That was the wrong word. But age-friendly in the sense that we have adopted a proclamation being age-friendly to recognize the benefits of having intercultural, or rather intergenerational approaches to things. What I really am hoping for as far as all of this is a volunteering sort of attitude. Finding something that you can really, I'm especially interested in what happens with kids, and getting involved. As I say, I want to see the education committee formed. We have a new representative on the APS board, District 3, Rebecca Betson, and I think she's going to be a really good person to work with. And now that I'm sorry, Gilbert is stepping down, I hope you'll be coming to the school. You used to do that. I'm looking forward to that. And I want to thank all of you that are willing to do this, join in that. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Mayor and trustees. That concludes public comment.
Very good. Thank you very much to all our speakers. And just let me say, it is nice to hear the thanks from the community, and we do appreciate that very much. We'll move on now to approval of the minutes of the October 21st, 2025 regular meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any additions, any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are now at that point of presentations. Let me begin our first presentation, or our first conversation here is, I've invited our county commissioner, Ms. Barbara Baca, to come and visit with us a bit this evening. And so, Commissioner, if you want to come up to the podium, I'm going to say a few words about why this is such an important opportunity for us to say thank you to Commissioner Baca. As you all know, a good portion of the village is in her, if you will, her district. But Commissioner Baca was very instrumental early on in providing not only a lot of support just in general from the county, but helping us move some very important programs forward. Not only of her support as it relates to how we deal now with our animal control program. She obviously, as a commissioner, has some overall budgetary responsibility over our fire and police protection that we have here in the village. They're from Bernalillo County as well. But the one item I did want to thank her personally for, because I think it really has helped us tremendously, is Commissioner Baca, from her own, if you will, discretionary funds, was able to give the village up to $40,000 so that we could begin, if you will, the seed money to develop our Main Street program. And that is how we began this effort to really create an economic opportunity for our community along 4th Street, and how we were able to hire Magda, who we'll hear from here in a little bit. But I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for your friendship, but more importantly, for your support of our community, your continued support going forward. And you know, as we're like, you're like the mom and we're like the kids. So we'll always be coming back for more and more and more help. But more importantly, so far you've done a great job. So I want to thank you on behalf of the village, and give you an opportunity to say a few words about your work and what you're doing.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Rao. I really appreciate that statement. I don't know if I can be the mom. Mamacita is what my daughter calls me. So, but I'm really happy to be here. And Henry, I'm glad you said that this is an age-friendly community, because I feel like I'm getting older and older as I go through this. And I know Trustee Radnovich from a previous life, and Trustee Benavides as we worked on the Water Utility Authority, and you, Mayor Rao, obviously through the City of Albuquerque. I'm a retired City of Albuquerque employee working in parks, recreation, open space, and trails, which I want to bring forward as something that I'm really interested in working with the village on as we move forward with our planning in Bernalillo County. But I'm so pleased to be here. I know that you're going to be talking to and giving recognition to former Chief of Fire Pettis, our Deputy County Manager of Public Safety, and I just met with our new Chief, Lardy, and so we are a team at Bernalillo County, and we are a partner with Los Ranchos. So I'm happy to be here, and I would love to come back as we move forward, because my philosophy has always been, we are better together. Bernalillo County is this big thing, but Los Ranchos is a really important part of my district, District 1. City of Albuquerque is a very important part, and I'm always working toward that collaboration and pooling our resources. So I'm really, really pleased and feel very welcomed. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, for sure, and the feeling is mutual. So let me give our trustees, if they all have an opportunity, I want to have an opportunity to say a few words or say anything to you. The floor is open to you.
Well, thank you for being here, Ms. Baca. I appreciate it. I want to say thank you personally, as well as the trustee who's been tasked by Mayor Rael in helping start the Main Street. I really do appreciate your support behind that. I also really appreciate your support on the Vineyard project. And kind of helping us, I don't even know the right word, but just kind of put it aside for now as we kind of explore our high density surroundings. And you were very crucial for that too. So thank you. The village really appreciates your support.
Thank you.
Trustee Ranovich?
I have a hard time not calling Commissioner Baca Barbara.
You could do that. I like it better.
But Barbara, thank you for being here and thank you for all your support. I know the county does so much for this village and it's really appreciated by all of us. And we couldn't do a lot of what we do without the county. Not just grants and partnerships in terms of our funding and monies, but just in services and services like the fire department and the police, the sheriff's office, and even zoning and other planning perspectives that you offer us, and the services that you give to our planning and zoning folks here at the village. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for your service.
Trustee Benavides?
Yes, Commissioner Baca, you've been a great partner to the village and a friend. I think we've known each other for a good 4 years now, and you've been to our house a couple occasions. And the 4th Street project is a very important project to this community because it's part of our financial engine that will help to keep property taxes down, right, if we do it right. So thank you for that. And also, you've been a great supporter of the arts, and so I think that's also very important. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your service, Trustee.
Okay. You okay? All right, great, good. Well, let me just say again, thanks for being here and taking some time this evening. We know you got lots of opportunities to go home and enjoy a nice dinner with your family, so.
I did have one other thing, Mayor,
Absolutely.
if I may. I forgot to mention that I serve on the Water Utility Authority Board, and one of the key things that I was a former member of the MRGCD, and so water is a really important protection of our water and protection of our acequia system, I know is a really important thing to the village. So I really want to reach out in that regard too. The Bernalillo County just passed our water conservation plan or update. And in that we have the idea of doing some more community discussions, community engagement about water conservation. So I think I will reach out to the mayor and come back to you for what that means, because we all know we are in a drought, climate change is upon us, it is real, and we are struggling with a dry river and all of those kinds of things that we all need to come together and work on. So I just wanted to give that little statement too.
All right. Thank you very much for being here, and you have a
Thank you.
great afternoon. We'll now move on to a very important, if you will, part of our program this evening, and that is I'd like to call up former Fire Chief Greg Pettis to the podium. And I will also now ask our Public Safety Director, Mr. Fred Rodasevich, to please say a few words and the video.
Thank you, Mayor. Greg does not like doing this. I can tell you that. But I first met him in 2010 when I came to work for the village, and he was a battalion commander for Bernalillo County Fire Department. And I think probably our first event that I ever did with him was the Easter egg hunt. That's his event, by the way. He was master of ceremonies for that for so many years and made sure that it went off really well. Anyway, I had the opportunity to work with Greg over the years. You know, we have a contract with Bernalillo County for fire protection. The first part of it started in 2009, and it was a 15-year contract. After the second or third year, there was supposed to be a cost of living increase. Through Chief Pettis, and I don't want to say this in front of the commissioner, but I will, they never imposed that 3% increase for many years. And so he's been a true asset to the village and Bernalillo County. We've seen so much happen in the Bernalillo County Fire Department. But I happened to attend a luncheon that they had in his honor, and they did a little video. And I hope, Darnell, you can pull that up. But I know he doesn't like this, but you're going to have to watch it again.
After more than 7 years at the helm, Chief Greg Pettis is passing the torch, leaving behind a legacy of leadership, service, and innovation at Bernalillo County Fire Rescue. Chief Pettis began his fire service career in 1998 as a volunteer with the Village of Los Ranchos. By 2005, he was appointed chief of that department. When BCFR assumed command in 2009, he continued his service as battalion commander, again rising through the ranks.
Bernalillo County Fire Department officially has a new chief. Chief Greg Pettis was sworn in this morning.
During his tenure, Chief Pettis oversaw tremendous growth.
Place Engine 32 in service. This is the newest addition to our family.
BCFR expanded its fleet, increased staffing by about 25%, growing to more than 300 members, and opened the state-of-the-art Public Safety Training Academy.
In our careers, we get opportunities like this very, very seldom. I've been fortunate enough to have an opportunity now twice in the last 6 months. Once with the opening of Station 39 on the Sandia Pueblo, and now this training academy. So I couldn't be more happy or proud of all of the work that we've done as a county.
Under his leadership, historic agreements were also secured to expand services in Tijeras, La Madera, and on sovereign Sandia Pueblo land.
Said, I need you to partner with Sandia Pueblo to bring a fire department to fruition there. And we did it. And I thank you for trusting me with such an important item.
A new fire station was also added on the Metro's growing west side.
We're probably 5 to 6 years overdue to have a station of this size and this magnitude out here with all that's grown up around us. But now we will be able to take what was taking 25 minutes response time to MDC to 7.
And funding was secured to relocate Station 36, breaking ground this spring.
This station alone has ran about 4,800 calls in the last year, so the need is definitely there. Moving it to this location will now allow us to have a more rapid response because we will be pulling onto a main thoroughfare rather than navigating our way through a neighborhood.
Through a partnership with the City of Albuquerque, Chief Pettis also initiated the Automatic Aid Program, ensuring emergency services are delivered immediately, regardless of jurisdictional boundaries. Beyond the buildings and apparatus, Chief Pettis put people first. In 2019, he introduced Clean Cab initiatives.
My job is to protect our members today, but more importantly, to protect my members 20 years, 25 years from now, so that they can go out and enjoy a happy retirement.
And in 2020, as the world faced the COVID-19 pandemic, he guided Bernalillo County through unprecedented times, even personally administering more than 3,000 vaccinations. Mental health initiatives were also a top priority, as he ensured critical resources were always within reach for every member of the department.
And I would say, reflecting, my biggest achievement is really bringing that out and making it okay to talk.
And his service hasn't stopped with Bernalillo County, serving as the chair of the Metro Fire Chiefs for 7 years, chair of the State Fire Advisory for 2 years, and as the point person for the Federal Line of Duty Death Benefit Program through the Department of Justice. Though stepping down as fire chief, he remains committed to Bernalillo County as a deputy county manager, continuing to guide public safety.
I feel that our department is in the best place that it could possibly be right now, and there's not a better time to throw that touchdown pass and walk out on top as it is now. And I really, truly feel that that's where we're at as a department. And I look forward to helping, the next chief, he or she, with what their challenges will be.
So I'll always know him as chief and deputy county manager, but I think we have a proclamation that Danielle, you're going to read, or the mayor's going to read?
Thank you very much for that video, Fred. Let me now turn it over to our clerk, and she is going to read a proclamation on your behalf. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Village of Los Ranchos to Albuquerque proclamation. Chief Greg Pettis Day. Whereas Chief Greg Pettis began his fire service career in 1998 as a volunteer firefighter for the Village of Los Ranchos and was appointed chief in 2005. Whereas when Bernalillo County Fire Rescue, BCFR, assumed control of Los Ranchos Fire Department in 2009, he was appointed battalion commander under the county. Over the years, he steadily rose through the ranks and was named fire chief in 2018. Whereas during his tenure, Chief Pettis spearheaded significant growth within BCFR by increasing fleet and adding personnel to more than 300 members. Under his leadership, 2 new fire stations were also added, the Public Safety Training Academy was opened, and funding was secured for the relocation of Station 36, which broke ground earlier this year. Whereas Chief Pettis is also prioritized mental health by providing critical resources to members in need of support. Whereas over the years, Chief Pettis has become a mentor and a friend to a number of municipal officials. Whereas we wish to recognize and thank Chief for his 27 years of service to our community. I urge all citizens to join me in thanking and honoring him and wishing him continued success. Now, therefore, on behalf of Lawrence Rael, Mayor, and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque, New Mexico, I do hereby proclaim November 19th, 2025 as Chief Greg Pettis Day.
There you go. There you go, Chief. Thank you very much for your service. You have a podium to say a few words.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate you. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate you, Greg.
Well, thank you, Mayor, trustees. As I start out, every time I have the honor to come before the Village of Los Ranchos, I have to stop and say, it always feels good to be back home. I don't know how many knew that this is where it all started for me, this crazy journey, this part of my life that I cherish. It all started here as a volunteer back when I was 20 years old, I think, 19, right around that time, just to watch the sheer growth, not of Bernalillo County, but the village itself as well, and everything that you have all accomplished alongside the partners at the county. It's just phenomenal to get to sit back and kind of reflect on all of that, and then more importantly, to have been able to claim to be part of all of it. So again, such an honor. I can't thank you enough for recognizing me and my friend Fred back here. He's been a great partner all the way through. We couldn't ask for a better partner between Los Ranchos and Bernalillo County. So thank you all for recognizing me. It does mean more than you know.
Thank you very much for your service. And well-deserved recognition. Now let me now then the chief has moved on to, Chief Pettis has moved on to bigger and better things. We are now honored to also to introduce to our community the new fire chief for the Bernalillo County Fire Department. And Chief Lardy is going to be introduced and give us a few words, Fred, about the chief. And we'll, or actually, Greg, let's just do that. You know more than probably any of us.
Mayor, trustees, again, a pleasure to be in front of you. So tonight, I get the distinct honor to introduce the newest fire chief to Bernalillo County Fire and Rescue. Zachary Lardy is taking over the helm of what I will say is by far the best and strongest department in the state of New Mexico. He worked side by side with me through my entire administration as my deputy chief of administration and really that right hand. I could never have managed being deputy county manager of public safety and fire chief without having someone like Zach on my side. I could rely on him to do absolutely anything that needed to be done. And I will tell you all that you couldn't be in better hands than you are with Chief Lardy. So it's my honor to introduce to you all Fire Chief Zachary Lardy.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, trustees, thank you, Chief. There are no words to express my gratitude for the preparation that you've given me to stand here today, and the honor that it is to take over a fire department that is in such a good position. It's an honor to stand here in front of all of you. As you just heard, I have some massive shoes to fill. And I feel like every time we do this, they get a little bigger. But I'm up to the task. I'm well prepared, and I've had a great mentor that luckily for me is still available to me every day. I'm thankful for that. I'm excited to take over the relationship between Bernalillo County and the Village of Los Ranchos. And it's going to be an honor to continue Chief Pettis' legacy and to continue to grow this relationship between the two organizations. Thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Chief, very much, and welcome and congratulations. And just remember, always listen to Greg, because he knows that it started here at Los Ranchos. So any trustees, would you like to say a few words to the new fire chief? If not? Nope. Well, thank you.
Just welcome.
Thank you.
Just welcome. Thank you very much. Thanks, Fred, and thanks, Greg, for your service. For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, we'll now move on to a presentation and an update, if you will, on our Main Street program. Magda Martinez-Baca is here to give us a presentation, and I do believe you have a guest with you as well that might be joining you. Yes. Very good. So for our community members who may or may not know, Magda is our Executive Director for our Los Ranchos Main Street program, and I'd like to give her an opportunity to give us an update on where we are.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Mayor Real, Board of Trustees, and also members of the community. My name is Magda Martinez-Baca, Director of Economic Development in Main Street. And thank you, Barbara, for the $40,000. Commissioner Barbara Baca. This opportunity tonight, I have an opportunity to update what we've been doing and about Main Street economic development initiatives, community engagement, and the next steps that we have in progressing to be a designated Main Street in New Mexico. So some highlights. We had our very first annual meeting for Economic Development Main Street this past July. And we had a very strong local business engagement. Many people were there. We were there, and we had also elected our inaugural board of directors. And tonight, our president is here, Brian Maloney. He's with Higher Health and Wellness, and he'll be speaking in just a few minutes. But really excited about the following people that are listed up there, various business owners, and as well as our trustee, Jennifer Kiefer. I'm very happy that she's a part of our board as well. So it took about 5 years to come up with our vision and mission. I'm just kidding, it felt like that, but it was work that we really care about. And our vision is for our future is having a thriving Main Street district that celebrates our community heritage. And not only that, but strengthens local businesses and inspires future growth. Now, how we're going to do that, the action we are going to take is the economic development will work to promote our village's unique character and heritage, strengthen partnerships, and foster small business growth by preserving our cultural character with economic development and inclusive engagement for all of the community. So our next steps is to become a 501(c) nonprofit. And this is very important, a 4-point approach to Main Street. And this is for all Main Street programs in America: organization, economic vitality, promotion, and design. And what New Mexico Main Street, under the Economic Development Department in New Mexico, they strengthen our businesses. They help us and attract investments, create jobs, and overall just invest in our quality of life here. So these are future upcoming Main Street goals. This year, we had our first project for Main Street, and we collaborated and piggybacked with the Globitos event that we had that great feedback and everyone enjoyed. And the grant, or not a grant, but the Main Street program we're working towards is called Rural Communities Initiative. It's because of the amount of our population here. So you'll see next year we'll have our second project and a revitalization plan. 2027 will be in the Main Street Accelerator Program, and then expected in 2028 will be a Main Street America affiliate. New Mexico as well, of course, America Main Street affiliate. And from there, yearly ongoing accreditation, God willing. So our Globitos was our first project. We partnered with New Mexico Main Street, International Balloon Fiesta, and village staff. And it was very coordinated effort, a lot of work. We conducted community and business surveys, and these are some of the results from the survey. We had two, one from the general community and one from businesses. Now, with the Next Village magazine, we will have QR codes for these surveys still available, so they'll be open. So if you attended the Globitos event, like to fill out our survey, we'll have that as part of the Village magazine. If you could, please, we want your feedback. So who was there? We have, can't read here, let me see. So the majority of the folks that were in the event or at the Globitos event were from Los Ranchos, the ones that filled out the survey. And next was Albuquerque area. And then we had people from other areas in New Mexico, and 9%, I believe that's what it says, 9% were from out of state, or is it 7%? Can't see. So we had a good turnout with our surveys. And also, if you can go to the next one, the community said, how did they find out about this event? And the majority found out from friends, from their neighbors, from people in the village, people in the community. And then second was social media, and also a KOA TV news feature, which was new for us to have, or in our community, featuring, hey, we're gonna have Globitos this year for the first time with International Balloon Fiesta. Now, the very first impression that folks said that they had when they came to the event was 70% was just excellent. And one of our comments were that they felt welcomed and engaged right away. And so that was very positive. Another positive, additional feedback from the community, recommendations, we can go to the next slide, is that they would like clearer parking, some more guidance on that, replace tickets with RSVP, rather than thinking you needed to present a ticket, when you arrive. More vendors for maybe swag and more balloons, more globitos available, more food vendors, park and share, bike valet, some of good ideas. And additional, people really enjoyed the event, so they want additional seasonal events in the future. So next, survey from the businesses. So the folks, the business owners and who filled this out will participate in the survey. Majority were not open, but the question is, how did your customer traffic and sales compare to a typical evening? And it was much higher. And that's 33% of the folks that were open. Marketing. They said the marketing was very good, great awareness from the businesses, and a lot of them piggybacked social media from Balloon Fiesta and from the village. Next. Thanks. And 100% of the village of Los Ranchos businesses who participated in this survey, 100% said that they felt that Los Ranchos, that this event helped promote our village. And that was really good to hear. Excellent, okay. And in the first question is if your business, marketing. So the majority thought that it was great awareness for our businesses. And the last slide for the business feedback, the one before that, yes, thank you, is the communication and access to their business. A majority felt like it was very good, excellent actually, excellent communication and access when the road closures and things that took effect. It was a lot of work to involved in the road closures and events. All right, overall feedback from the businesses. This is, they said that they wanted to expand the event footprint. More businesses wanted to be involved. So now that we have this, possibly in the future, we will expand the event on 4th Street. Want to increase lighting, earlier balloon activation, have them on earlier, have more globitos. It was very strong community energy and a lot of business gains. The energy was great, broad desire for more events like this in the village. One business person said that the event was a godsend. It gave balloonists and local people a treat, and our business has increased. Next. Lastly, if you haven't heard, our Lita Logart in the village, our previous election, the ballot measure was passed. And we're very excited about what it's going to bring to the village. Approximately $480,000 annually for local improvements. Helping our businesses, our agriculture and community projects. And these dollars, it's important to know that it'll stay in Los Ranchos. And if it will carry over year to year if it's not all used. And it's going to be guided by the village trustees. It strengthens our community. And at this time, I'd like Brian Maloney, if he could come up and introduce himself, and he'd like to say some things about celebrating Lita Logart.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, community, thank you. Brian Maloney again, not only a business owner, but a resident of Los Ranchos. Did a few years in the military, happy to be back. I'm so excited about the Lita Logart program because of now starting a Main Street USA, and just getting to see the community, we like to say, give it more love and just more opportunity, and just seeing the growth. This is no better time than what we have right now to be able to just give back, just like the Globitos. I mean, we're so excited to do some more programs within the community and get involvement and get just to see it flourish. So thank you for the few moments, and look forward to seeing you all and working with y'all. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your continued support of economic development in Main Street. I'm here, and we're both here if you have any questions or if you have any feedback for us.
Well, thank you very much for all the work and for the organization and the work that you all are doing to get yourselves in a place where we can continue to have these types of events. Let me first turn it over to our trustee who has been helping guide this process from the village standpoint, Trustee Kiefer.
I just want to say thank you. It's been, thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to really help this group and be a part of this group. And thank you, Brian, for accepting me into the group. And Magda, you've been fantastic to work with as well. And we just had 2 new businesses yesterday just join the board because they were super excited of what had already started and what was already taking place. And so the board's growing, the initiatives are growing. I think people are starting to really feel the energy that the Globitos brought. And I think we've got a great group here that's just ready to capitalize and continue the momentum going. And I look forward to supporting you all however I possibly can.
Thank you very much. Trustees, any other trustees?
I just think the Main Street program is going to do so well in in Los Ranchos. And thank you for being here and thank you for guiding it.
Yeah, I've seen this work in other communities, and it really does transform the community. And so whatever we can do as a board in order to support it, I think we certainly will contribute to whatever you need in terms of getting the message across and improving the way that we attract and develop businesses in the community. So thank you.
Well, I think that events are a big part of what can happen on Main Street, and I'm glad you're embracing that. And along with events, especially the first time we do something like Globitos, there will be lessons learned, right? And so I actually heard from some of the people that live on some of the side streets. They said, we really love Globitos, but we need to do this with the traffic or that with the traffic. But they're very supportive and maybe a little critical at the same time, right? And so, yeah, traffic was one of the issues, but people understand. We'll get there. Thanks.
Thank you very much, you all. And I would just remind our community, we've got holidays before us, and there'll be some events here for the holidays that they're planning. And so stay tuned. We'll keep you all informed through our notification process. But thank you more than anything to both of you, Magda and the group for working together. And obviously, we're all very supportive. So, and more importantly, I also wanted to say a big shout out to the community. The community support of the initiative on the ballot was just outstanding, and it really does show what I think all of us are thinking, that is that we have a great opportunity here to do some really good things for our community, and not just today, but into the future. And again, Commissioner, thank you for the seed money that made this happen. So thank you so much. All right, we'll now move to item E. The last presentation is at the Larry Abraham Agri-Nature Center update. I have our director, William Carlton, to give us an update on what's happening at the Agri-Nature Center. William?
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, trustees. So my goal here is just to kind of give an update what's been going on this year, kind of give a tour, so to speak, of the place and what the output has been this year. And I'll start with just some of the raw numbers of what's been happening we've averaged over a workshop or an event a week. The total numbers have been, for those events, have been over 2,000, and I'll say that the total number of visitors throughout this year has been well higher than that, probably more like 10,000 or more, if we're talking about all the people who come to the community garden, to the Master Gardeners, all the school groups, the Youth Conservation Corps, and just people who just come to walk through the property and enjoy it. It's significant. We reach a lot of different people in the village and beyond the village. The total number of zip codes from people who've participated in events is 46, which is, within the metro area and beyond. And a lot of these groups are school groups. So kids coming from all over the metro area. We've worked with 17 groups, school groups, this past year. And this last number, I think, is pretty significant because it just shows that how often those kids are actually here at the Agri-Nature Center. One thing that I would say, though, is that, these numbers paint a picture, but they can't really paint the full picture. There's so much intangible elements to what is gained at the Agri-Nature Center and what happens at the Agri-Nature Center. I think that beyond these numbers and what they kind of point to is just the amount of connection that happens at the Agri-Nature Center for people to the land itself and within the community with each other. And I see it every day at the Agri-Nature Center. And so my goal is to kind of fill out some of those intangibles for you today. And I've invited a few of our community partners to speak as well. So the stated goals of the Agri-Nature Center, these should be fairly familiar. This comes from the master plan. And it's a diverse range of goals that hopefully by showing kind of going in depth with some of the programs, how we're meeting these goals. So next slide. The programs that have kind of developed most this year are varied, and these I'll go into with a little bit more depth. The Chili program is something that we started this year, and the idea is to start a community seed bank that would preserve climate-adapted crops such as the chili. We started with the chili because it's a fairly well-known and easy crop to grow and to save seed from, and it's such a culturally important gem to our region, and something that is worth highlighting from an educational standpoint, the native chili and the land-raised chili. And also, I've seen kind of firsthand the ways that chili can bring people together. It's something that we can kind of all agree that we love, even when maybe there's disagreements on other things. The chili kind of is a crop that binds. And so it's been fun to work with that. And there's a lot of room for growth is where that can go. I think we grew close to 20 different varieties this year of chili, and we'll have seed for the community. In the future, perhaps there'll be a seed swap in the spring or a plant sale along those lines. Next slide. Here's some photos of some of the chilies that we grew. Again, these are native land-raised chilies. They're known for being variable, smaller than your standard hatch chilies, but also a lot of complex flavor, and they're very well adapted to our climate. Next slide. So another program that we've developed is our demonstration kitchen. We've hosted several workshops. This was finished this summer. It's a beautiful space, and it's been really fun to showcase it and begin to kind of fill it out. There's a lot of room for growth with that as well. But I'm very excited about the possibilities with that. Next. Another program that we started is called the Healer's Garden. It's a medicinal herb garden that incorporates both workshops, so people could sign up for a year-long series. We had over 20 people sign up. It sold out very quickly. And there's a lot of community interest in this. As part of that, there was a series of workshops throughout the year. In addition, we held events in the space. There was a spiral garden, and the idea was to create a welcoming space that people would just enjoy being in, and truly a healing space. Next slide. So we've also started an OYA program. OYAs, for those who don't know, are ceramic vessels. They're fired at a low enough temperature that they sweat a little bit of water as you fill them. And so you bury them in the ground, fill them with water. They slowly release water. The plants can attach their roots to the OYAs themselves, and through capillary action, effectively drink from the OYA. And what's cool about this is that they are actually, by some estimates, around 30% more efficient than even drip tape. So it's certainly a water-saving technology we're thinking about. But what's also really cool about OYAs is that it's a way for people to connect with their irrigation and the land itself, instead of just going to some store, buying some plastic that you then have to figure out what to do with when it's done. You've kind of developed this deeper relationship with the process of building your own OYA, thinking about it, offering it to the land, and just having that type of relationship. And we've started working with schools. Just this week we had an OYA demonstration with some kids from Alvarado, and we've also done community workshops that have been popular and have sold out quickly. So that's a program that has a lot of promise. Next slide. Our animal husbandry program has been exciting this year. We've developed kind of a sheep to shawl kind of workshop series around the animals. We have 7 churro sheep, and we've hosted processing demos, and we've hosted several fiber arts classes along the way that have been popular as well. This slide just kind of points to the community garden that we have, and also the Master Gardener garden. We've got the Master Gardeners come every week, 20 people or more. They're highly involved. They add a lot to the Agri-Nature Center. They're really important to the Agri-Nature Center. And the community garden this year had 30 plots that filled up and has the potential to expand next year. Again, this has been a popular addition and is a really valuable resource that we can offer the community. Education has been a really big part of what's happened this year, and the educations look varied. And it's gone from K to 12 workshops and groups with various schools, working with the youth conservation crews routinely and often and intricately with our programs. And then also working with adults and doing a lot of adult education. The bottom right photo there is a group of mostly professors from around the country who came for a Chile, Western History Association Chile talk and panel and field trip to the Agri-Nature Center last month. Next. The workshops that we do are varied and eclectic. We've done things from building ornos to the Master Gardeners have made wine. We do sheep shearing, and we do the OYA making on various levels. Next. We have a lot of community partners that are quite important to what we do, and one of them is the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy, and we have an MOU with that Albuquerque Sign Language Academy. They are quite active. They have plots at the community garden and have been there almost every day throughout the growing season. And they also raise bees at the Agri-Nature Center and have developed a trolley that is exciting that was featured at our fall festival. And so it's been a pleasure to work with them, and yeah, they're just a vital part of what we're doing. And finally, we another group that we work with closely is Desert Forge, which supports veterans learning about agriculture and getting involved in agriculture. And the Desert Forge has been working on the vineyard right on Rio Grande, right by the old Anderson vineyard. So there's 3 people that I've invited to kind of join me today. One is Victor Versace of Desert Forge. Another is Laura Richards of Alvarado Elementary, and also Yancey Ranspot, who's been instrumental with the Youth Conservation Corps and also with the oil making program that we're doing. So before I kind of pass that on, I just kind of want to, just kind of reiterate that there is, I think that when it all adds up, there is a lot going on at the Agri-Nature Center, and that the harvest, so to speak, is far beyond just the crops that we grow. There's so much community involvement, community interaction, and just the opportunity to provide connection for people to connect with the land directly and as a community is immeasurable. And it's something that I see it on a daily basis, but I recognize that not everyone else does. And so I'm just trying to convey that as much as I can. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you have them, you're always welcome to stop by the Agri-Nature Center as well. But with that, I want to just thank the 3 presenters for taking the time to come up here and join me and add anything else that they might want to add.
Thanks, Will. Why don't you call each one of them and have them come up and say a few words?
Okay, Victor, do you want?
Hello, I'm Vic Versace. In 2003, I was called up to go fight in Iraq. I was a professional engineer sitting at my desk out in Arizona, and my buddy called me up, said, "Hey Vic, we're getting called up." Jim Thode was a Farmington cop, called me up, said, "Hey Vic, we're rolling." 2010, Jim was killed in action. So in 2003 and 4, I was a combat engineer, I was a demolition sergeant. Came home from that experience, very changed. Still an engineer, but struggled to figure things out. And then several years later, I volunteered to go back. I was an engineer advisor in Afghanistan on a provincial reconstruction team. The day I returned home, one of my best friends was killed in action, and then Jim was killed later on. So this thing I'm doing for veterans is very personal. I'm the director of the Desert Forge Foundation. We are a combat veteran founded organization with lots and lots of professionals as members. My buddy's an Army Ranger, he's a chemical engineer. My other buddy's an attorney, he's special forces. So this year, we worked with Willie at the vineyard, the former Anderson vineyard. And I'll give you some numbers. This year, we have 250 gallons of wine being barrel conditioned right now because of your graciousness. So 125 gallons came from you folks, and then a family up the street, the Garcias, Garcia Duran family, also donated all of their grapes to us. For us, it's a change for us. It's an opportunity for us to grow. COVID really beat us up, and so I resurrected the program this year for my friends who said to me, "Hey, we'd like to do this again." So what's going to happen is we partnered with the New Mexico Wine Association, Casa Rodena, and a lot of local vintners right up the street here, and they're so enthused about what we're doing. What we want to do is we want to grow a viticulture and viniculture technician business. We want to start a training program for veterans and disadvantaged community members. About half the folks that participate in our programs are just regular folks who like what we're doing and want to join us. That's what we're doing. We're here in Los Ranchos. We're here to stay. We're going to grow a business right here in the village, supporting the vineyard industry. You know, the wine industry is one of the largest industries in the state, and they don't have enough folks to service the industry. So we're part of the effort to service that industry, help veterans, and help the community. We're Desert Forge.
Very good. Thank you very much, and thank you for your service And thank your colleagues for their service as well very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. I'm also going to bring up Laura Richards of Alvarado Elementary. Thank you, Laura.
So I'm a teacher at Alvarado Elementary, and this year they started a new program called Nature Class. And so I have a pull-out class where I receive all the students from the whole school once a week for an hour. And a core part of our program has been to walk to the Los Ranchos Agri-Nature Center monthly. And so this is the week I'm walking for November. And so I go over every day, multiple times a day with all of our students from pre-K to 5th grade. And I think I want to kind of try to convey today how beautiful this companionship has been. The process of walking from our school along the acequias and passing through the Los Poblanos open space, and then arriving at the farm has been one of the best experiences I've had as a teacher. The students adore coming there. They have fallen in love with the sheep. They get to pet Rosie, the sheepdog. We've done things from watching Willie roast some of the green chilies that he's harvested and grown, and we've had a chance to help some of the master gardeners, watch them process their wine, pick Armenian cucumbers and beans, and plant garlic this week, and pull kernels off the cobs of corn. And I think I just want to kind of emphasize how unique this relationship is, that there's not a lot of programs like this going on in APS or basically in the city of Albuquerque, let alone the state of New Mexico. And it's just become obviously one of the most popular classes at the school. Everybody's talking about nature class, and such an important part of it is the walkover and is the time that we're spending on the land. And these kids are learning how to be independent, but how to also feel competent in certain skills that really aren't valued as much as they used to be maybe in school system. And I'm finding my students in particular have what we're thinking are increased improvements to some of their mental health, some of their social emotional skills. Part of it is just being able to walk and be immersed in nature. Some of it is the conversations we have on the path to the school or to the nature center. And then part of it is once we're there, they're using their hands, they're digging in dirt, they're getting muddy, they're in fresh air, they're picking up bugs, and they're learning some traditional skills that's very important for their, place-based education and their time outside. So I just wanted to say thank you to Willie, and to thank you for the Village of Los Ranchos for supporting this collaboration, and just emphasizing how important it is that it continues to grow, and that this program maybe could be an inspiration to other schools, and the relationship we can have between the village and a local school. So I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. And one more is Yancy Ranspot. Thank you, Yancy.
Good evening. Mayor Lawrence Rail, Board of Trustees, village employees, and all those that are in attendance. My name is Yancy Ranspot, and I have the privilege to be here to represent the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy, New Mexico Youth Conservation Foundation. So what a great time to be part of the village. You're helping develop the next generation of land stewards in a time where, as we heard Commissioner Baca talk about, Bernalillo County is putting together a commission to look at water, to look at the need for us to be able to take that next generation and instruct them on the practices that we've started here in partnership with the village and with partnership with other communities and other entities that have seen this program start this year. Now the county wants to be partners with us. The city of Albuquerque wants to be partners with us. CU That Soil and Water wants to partner with us because they've seen how quickly these great programs have worked. So the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy, currently they're at La Luz, that is at 2nd Street and Griegos Street. They are building a brand new 19-acre campus with the county, just right up the road here off of Osuna, Edith and Osuna. So it's 19 acres, 4 acres for a school, only school of its kind in the nation. A school that's bringing hard of hearing, special needs youth, and hearing youth together in one inclusive environment. 14 years ago, we started the Honey Badger Conservation Crew. We've worked from the city of Albuquerque along the Rio Grande Corridor, from Candelaria Open Space to the State Nature Center on Candelaria, all the way to Bakeki, helping our next generation learn about conservation. This has employed over 476 youth throughout the summer. It gives them good summer jobs. They're paid for through the Youth Conservation Program through the state of New Mexico. Now they're supported the last 4 years through the Outdoor Recreation Division with small grants that go out to many communities throughout the greater part of New Mexico. I get to work with some of them with the adaptive sports program from Santa Fe all the way down to 7 different pueblos throughout these programs. Working at the Agri Nature Center, we just finished our 4th year where we're on site with these crews. We have farming, we have aviary with our bees. All of this stuff is open to the communities. You heard one school. I could stand here now and rattle off probably 80 schools that have been at the Larry Abrams Agri Nature Center in the last 4 years. They've been to workshops, they've went to summer camps, they've been part of Explorers summer camps there. They've been part of some of our deaf and hard of hearing summer camps that are there. So when partnering with the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy, you know, the state of New Mexico has limited resources. We had to move here 14 years ago from Taos because our daughter was born and she had hearing issues. I see that all the time throughout the state of New Mexico. Everyone has to move here. Now the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy is going to be able to go from accepting 125 to 150 of our youth to going well over 200. So we've been able to build these programs, and the one thing is the connection to the land. And the one thing that I can honestly say is we help work in the village. We meet people all the time, and we go to the orchards. We help with the vineyards in town. Our youth conservation crew helped plant 1,500 vines over at the Mission Winery this year. They've helped with viticulture classes at Casa, Mission, and at Milagro throughout the state. And I just, for one, I know I have 3 minutes and I've got 10 seconds left, so I'll finish up. I really appreciate the relationship, the friendship of the village. Most importantly, I really respect and appreciate the relationship with William Willie Carlton. He's been wonderful to work with. He's touched a lot of lives. We've done a lot of great programs together. I look forward to it. Sometimes I get pointed at and people think that I'm an employee here. I'm not. I just love the village and I love what they've done for the community. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Willie. That was terrific. Thank you all for the support. I've got to tell you, trustees, I mean, we've had a great evening. You know, this is really inspiring as it relates to, at least for me as the mayor and a citizen of this community, that we've got some great things going on across the board. And so it's really, really inspiring, to say the least. And obviously this program at the Agri Nature Center and Willie's work is just outstanding. So with that, I obviously know that a few of you would like to see a few words about this, and so I'll give you a few minutes so that then we can move on to the rest of the agenda. I'll start with Trustee Ranovich.
The village of Los Ranchos was really innovative when we came up with the idea of an Agri-Nature Center. There is nowhere else like it. There are no other towns and cities and villages in this state, and probably other states, that wanted to take this as far as we have. And so we really need to cherish what we have there, and we really need to fund it and help it along. and continue to create something great there, because it's already great. And Willie, I really wish you were sticking around. But you've done so much good work while you're here, and you haven't even been here 2 years yet, have you? No. So thank you so much for what you do and for what you've done for us, and for what you've done for all these folks that just came up here and talked to us about what they're doing in collaboration with you. It's just an amazing thing to watch, and I just can't thank you enough.
Okay, Trustee Rett.
You know, looking back, you know, at the development of this nature center, I can certainly say that, you know, Willie, during your tenure, you have really kind of upped the score, you know, a bit. And there are, by the way, some other communities that are looking at what you're doing. As I saw an article recently in the paper that Corrales is thinking about developing its own ag nature center as well. You know, and so people are catching on. And certainly this is an opportunity for us in the village to be able to share what we have gone through and developed. But it's also an opportunity to start generating collaborations with other communities to really make this a much stronger opportunity for, you know, for the residents, as well as for individuals who may choose to go into farming or some other kind of agricultural endeavor. So again, thank you very much. You really pushed the button to it. And again, congratulations. Certainly we appreciate what you've done and look forward to you still kind of hanging around from time to time. So thank you, Willie.
All right, Trustee Benavides.
Yeah, so William, you had to wear a lot of hats, and it was a lot. You know, you're a farmer, and you had to be an administrative leader, and you had you know, many volunteers to manage, and you did it well. And it was a lot, and you're very much appreciated for what you've done, and I will remember in the early spring, you and I going down to the MRGCD trying to straighten out the water rights issue for the newly acquired Anderson fields, and you caught a mistake, and I caught some mistakes, and we got it fixed, but your heart was always in the right place. I wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Kiefer?
William, your presentation was amazing. I second everybody's sentiments up here about you, and you know, I'm glad that we're starting to provide the Agri-Nature Center the support that it's needed for a very long time with the open positions that we have. I really hope it's not too late because you've done amazing things in such a short period of time. And you're obviously, there's community members, there's partners that you've worked with that, you know, pat you on the back and speak very highly of you. And you've done amazing things. And it's where I've always said that I'd love to see the Agri-Nature Center grow to be, and I still think there's so much more. I think there's other nonprofits that we could partner with from the Ag Center that is doing farming in other locations that actually are here in the village, such as Mandy's Farm. I think they would probably love the opportunity to stay in their own community and farm. You know, I think even working with APS to see how much bigger can we expand this. You know, I've been doing a lot of research on just full-time classes that are done in nature because not all kids need to learn by books and learn by technology. And sometimes that grounding of an individual just being out in nature and being on the ground and feeling the fresh air and you know, the breeze on your face is completely refreshing and helps also reduce a lot of problems that we see that develop in the classrooms. And I think you touched on that. So I see what you've already started going a long way. And so it's very much appreciated. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you for your experience. It means a lot. And sir, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Trustee Kiefer. Thank you all for that wonderful presentation. Now we're going to move on to our agenda items. We are now on new business, a resolution number 2025-1101, a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of a water project fund grant agreement by and between the New Mexico Finance Authority and the Village of Los Ranchos. Mr. Avila to explain the resolution.
Mayor, Board of Trustees, this resolution is required by the Mexican MFA in the funding of a grant to the Village of Los Ranchos for this project, the Water Trust Board funding. We don't have to come up with, or we didn't have to take on a loan as part of the program. That's done with other programs with the Water Trust Board. So it's just the grant, and then we need to make sure we're on our end covering our match funds. And so this one is for $500,000 to improve irrigation at the Agri-Nature Center. Excuse me. And I believe Chuck Thomas is here if you want to ask further questions, but I stand for any questions. But basically, we need to do this resolution so that we can get this funding and the grant will go forward.
And I would just add, trustees, that at the New Mexico Municipal League, this issue of accessing funds from the Water Trust Fund was a very important conversation that the Municipal League did a lot of work, and Chuck can verify this with our legislators to authorize an additional funding for municipalities, cities, and counties to access these funds, especially small communities as ourselves that need some of this work done. So this is really to help improve our water usage at the Agri-Nature Center, which is obviously what we heard a lot about this evening. So with that, we need a motion for approval of this resolution.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-1101.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, well, do we have any discussion from the trustees?
Let me start. This is a great opportunity for us, obviously. The village, in reading through the documentation, rather voluminous in terms of, I'm not a lawyer, but certainly I'm learning how to be one as I move through this. So this is a grant to us for 526,425, and then we have a match to it. John, what is your feeling about how close we're going to be able to get to completing this along with our match, because we're putting in $117,000 into this as well? I mean, do we have, I shouldn't say cushion, but are we realistic in terms of what the costs are going to be?
Trustee Rhino, Board of Trustees. Yes, what we're intending to do here is start with the design portion with the match so that we're ready and not interrupt the irrigation season and have the actual contract be in the fall when irrigation is stopped, and so that we'd be able to go ahead and bring in the piping that's going to replace a lot of the leaky irrigation that we have. We have some strategies to make sure that we take maybe the least or the most efficient route so that we don't use up money in trying to go in a more expensive fashion. I think we've got a strategy that'll help us get there a little quicker, get in the ground faster. So those are some things we'll do to try to keep costs down.
So then the completion of the project is in June of '26, is that it?
I would say that the completion project is going to happen after the fall, so that it can get done rather quickly once we get the design and construction done. So we'll wait till the irrigation happens, spring and summer, and then as the MRGCD shuts down their irrigation, that's when the construction will happen after we've done our RFP, done the procurement of the contractors, and before that, we'll have engaged our engineers to do the design work for the project.
So then are we then going to be going out for bid to, for folks to both design and construct?
We've already have on-call engineers, and we'll select one here in the next couple of weeks to get started on design and helping us with the RFP for the contractors.
Okay, thanks, John.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay, Trustee Benavides.
Let me see if I understand what's going to happen, because I thought I did. This is to service or the surface water coming from the ditch, right? To replace the ditches with culverts, basically, right? And so there's less seepage and getting the water to where it needs to be. I have that right?
That's
not
correct.
for wells, right?
Not for wells. This is for surface water irrigation.
Okay, good. No, that's how I understood it. Then I got a little bit confused there, but thank you.
Yeah, I would just say on that score, the analysis that we've done is that we have a lot of these open ditches that are in need of repair.
Yep.
And instead of having the open ditches and that are obviously even more difficult to maintain, using piping to get the water to where it needs to be is going to be obviously much better use of our water resources and obviously more efficient for the community. But anyway, Trustee Kiefer.
No questions.
Trustee Ranovich.
I have quite a few, Mayor. Where exactly geographically is this project? There wasn't a map or anything like that in the paperwork.
The project is at the Agri-Nature Center, those 20 acres. It involves the irrigation that comes across Rio Grande. That's the main source of the surface watering of those front fills, and then connecting to the Griegos channel that's in the east side of the property to bring water from that side. So a system where both irrigation water can be used across the Anderson property. The Agri-Nature Center property, not the.
So it's within our property on the Agri-Nature Center site and the Anderson site?
Yes, it's within our irrigated properties at that Anderson. Well, it's the Agri-Nature Center includes the Anderson fields as well.
I see. I would have liked to seen a map of that, but that's a good description. So thanks, John. Ditches in New Mexico are a cultural asset that I think we need to appreciate. And while I appreciate the water saving benefits that putting water in a culvert provide us, it takes away the natural elements of what acequias and irrigation ditches are. Things like habitat, things like kids being able to see that water move. I totally get the reasons and the water. I've been a water conservation proponent and advocate and designer for 40 years now, but I do feel kind of bittersweet about this one because it puts the water underground. knowing that it's within our properties makes it better, I think. One of the questions I have is, and we did this 2.5, 3 years ago on the Paseo del Norte open space as well, I think.
It was going to happen, then it didn't, right?
That's right, that's right. So my question, I have a couple more questions. Who will be maintaining, the MRGCD when they, and I've had a lot of experience with this, the MRGCD when they put, and Chuck, I would love to hear your opinion of this, when they put water underground, they really fight it. They don't want to see the ditch systems covered because more than anything, it increases their maintenance. They're not maintenance free because they do get clogged and they do get, they need to be flushed, and there are issues with them that really when we've been on projects associated with putting ditches in a pipe, they don't want to see it. So I guess one of the questions I have is, who's going to maintain it? We're going to maintain it, right? The village is.
That's correct.
So it'll be people in Willie's venue, I'll call it, that would maintain this ditch, or would Keene's group do it?
If it's not done by our staff, we'd likely get a contractor to help us do that.
I see, okay. I guess I don't have any other questions than that. You've already answered the one about the who's going to design it. I noticed that there were two sums of money in the grant. One is the $526,425, and I believe, I don't have the other one in front of me, but I believe it's $117,000 more. Can you explain a little bit the difference between how we will use those two sums?
Well, we're required to get some skin in the game when we apply for Water Trust Board funding. Usually it's a combination of grant, loan, and a match from the community. What we'd like to do is use our match funding, get started with the design work using that so that we're ready with a design that can be taken to the market, find who can do the contracting, and have them ready to go as soon as the water is stopped by MRGCD, so we don't miss the watering this next year.
Yeah, yeah. Mr. Thomas, do you have anything that you'd like to add? I'd love to hear from you. Sorry to call you Mr. Thomas, Chuck.
Okay, oh, there we go. Chuck Thomas with Petroglyph Consulting, and I helped with the grant application for this. Trustee Radnovich, Mayor. So I think one of the things and some of the concerns you have are very valid, and that's why it's going to be really important as part of the initial design phase. I think right now with the existing irrigation infrastructure, that flow is already traveling a fair amount of distance. So a lot of your debris and material that's going to be in that water, some of that will drop out, and so we expect to see a slightly less volume of that. But I think that's going to be one of the keys, is to have a discussion with the designers on, where we transition from the ditch into an enclosed system, making sure that we have ability to have kind of a maintenance spot right there. So any debris and material can be pulled out and can be maintained very easily, because as you point out, once it goes in the pipe, you can't really see what's going on. I think one of the other benefits, particularly from the water conservation perspective, is right now the ditch kind of runs along the road right there, and then it terminates right at the Anderson property. This will give an opportunity to actually target and direct that water to different areas of the field much more efficiently. So we're not having to flood irrigate, just from one spot, one location. We can run that around. And I think if as part of the planning, assuming grades work out, if you can connect in with your Griegos lateral, then you have an opportunity to provide the water from either side to a certain extent. Obviously, it's not all going to flow downhill both ways although, as you know, people of our age, we all did walk to school uphill both ways. Just a different application of that. So I think that's going to be really key, is making sure that the grade gets set correctly as part of the construction to ensure that we get a good flow regime going through those pipe systems.
Would it make any sense, so, and this is kind of a question for you too, Willie. You know, different habitats, I should say different conditions, environmental conditions, grow different crops. We have a hard time growing crops that like a little bit of cooler condition than we might, chili as an example. Blackberries might be, or raspberries might be in that kind of a condition. Would it make any sense to have some of that pipeline be permeable, so that we can plant some trees that might provide a secondary kind of habitat for, or secondary environment for crops that might do better with a little more cooler condition than you know, the full sun that they'll be in otherwise. And it's one of the first things that came to my mind when I was reading this, and I wondered about maybe parts of it are permeable. I don't know from an engineering perspective what that effect would have, but I know from an environmental perspective, it could add some positive benefits to a farm, I think. So I guess
Yeah, and I'm certainly not the agricultural specialist here. I'll defer but Maya, to kind of pair it back to you, Trustee Radovich, what you're asking is to provide some water for, and essentially to develop a shaded growing area where it's lower sunlight impact. Is that
different types of environments?
Yeah, I think that's a cool idea. I guess in this particular context, the pipe is going to go right next to the flooded area. Yeah. So if you were to plant cottonwoods or something else right near that pipe, they would probably tap in to the flooded area.
True.
So there's not really too much area where the pipe is going through unirrigated zone, you know, which would be an opportunity to kind of have that kind of spot irrigation to trees and create that shaded zone, which is something that an open ditch can do a little bit more, because it does have it permeates a little bit more.
Right.
But in this case, it's going to run parallel to the irrigated fields almost entirely.
So you think it's a good thing that way? And I can see why.
Yeah, I think in this particular case, you know, having it be permeable, you know, it would be permeable very close to the irrigated zone, so it would maybe defeat the.
It reminds me a little bit of Mike Meckenbeyer's pecan farm down by Berlin. You know, he has lots of underground irrigation flowing to those fields. So, okay. Thank you for the discussion.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor, I think that was everything, but let me just quickly scan my notes, sorry. Yeah. Already had that answered. Apologies.
That's all right. While we're waiting for you to get those notes, I would say, look, I think this is really an innovative way to do what we all have been talking about, which is not only just being mindful of our water resource and how it's used, but also, as Willie described, we're still going to do some flooding irrigation through the system.
Yep.
And so that's going to give you the kind of
Let me add something to that while you're looking, or maybe you found it. So the MRGCD is requiring, they're not forcing it yet, they're requiring you to water every acre within an hour, okay? That's tough to do.
It is.
Especially if you have a long field. The first acre, I mean, let's say if you have a long, you know, 5 acres, but each acre's in a row. First acre, yeah, it goes pretty fast.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the last acre, you need a lot more than a couple hours to do that one. So if that becomes enforced, something like this is going to become critically important.
Absolutely.
Good, another good point. I already asked the other question I had, so
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, well, with that, we have a motion on the floor to approve the resolution. We'll go to the clerk for the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Trustee Keeper.
Yes.
Trustee Ranovich.
Yes.
Trustee Raynow.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move to Resolution 2025-11-02, a resolution approving MFA funding application and resolution for the administration to proceed with requests for funding from the New Mexico Finance Authority MFA for Local Government Planning Funds, LGPF, to develop a comprehensive strategic plan for the Village Agri-Nature Center. Mr. Avila to explain.
Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees, what we're asking here is basically the approval to apply for funds for the Agri-Nature Center to plan not only short-term, but what we'll be doing out there is basically a comprehensive plan for the Agri-Nature Center. It's been talked about, and so we're going to go ahead and take that opportunity, hopefully, to get that started. And it works with what's been developing here for the last few years. We've been doing the right things, and we've been making the center productive. And so we'll take it from there and see how that'll work in the future. We have different things to consider as well. The climate impact, but also how we make this a service for the wider community. So we'll have the village residents help us decide that.
And I would just add to that explanation, trustees, not only have we done a good job with and because of the staff that we have, Willie's work, et cetera, but as you all know, and we've all been to events there a number of times, we've got some facility challenges in terms of just the facility itself. We've got some infrastructure that needs to be improved. And this gives us an opportunity to reach out to the community and to have folks weigh in on what they want the center to be, and also to have some expertise from consultants that we would hire to help us and guide us through the various iterations of what we want or we'd like to see the center, the nature center to be. So I think this is taking it to the next level and really giving us an opportunity to do some good things and laying a foundation for the future for this jewel of ours. And with that, if we need a motion for approval.
Sure, I'll do a motion to approve resolution number 2025-11-02.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any discussion? Trustee Benavides.
So I read the resolution and I see the right words, a comprehensive strategic plan for the Agri-Nature Center, which is great. I'd like to see it to be comprehensive. And keeping in mind, we have lots of different stakeholders, right? People, the village residents have contributed to this just through their taxes, right?
Right.
Different grants that we get. So the state, is also a stakeholder. And so there's a lot to be considered here. And there's a lot of opportunities here. But so back to this idea that it's a comprehensive plan. And then I read in all the whereases, right? And so it does seem like there is a particular focus on water conservation and delivery. Mayor, is that purposeful, or is it really broader than just that?
It's, in my opinion, it's much broader than that, but John, if you might just talk a little bit about the water focus. I think one of the issues is that the funds that we're asking for have a particular interest in that area as well. And obviously, as we've talked about before, but John, if you might be able to elaborate on that issue.
So this is a standard resolution, so it's not from the village putting this together. This is what the state requires for asking for these particular kind of funds. The concentration is on water, and it's something with the state water plan that we are looking at. That is one of the things that needs to be funded in the near future. So I guess if you're asking me to guess, I would say that concentration or focus is kind of driven by what's happening at the state level as well.
It's an important aspect, but, so my question is, are we constrained by the whereases?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So then, this is going to then result in an application that we submit to the state for this funding, correct?
Yes, this is required for that application submission.
Mayor, may I ask?
Yes, Trustee Kiefer.
Mr. Avila, so the other question I have is, if we get the money, are there any expectations on the plan, on what we have to do with the plan once we receive it?
One is to make sure that we immediately bring that forward, that we engage the community and then get the plan developed. And then to follow it. I mean, that is the next steps, is that we actually follow. That's not going to mean that, you didn't follow it to the letter, let's have our money back. That's what it's for, is to then take on the next steps to make sure we take care of those things that the plan provides. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess where I'm trying to get at, just because I'm pretty direct, is a lot of the money that we petition and we get have strings attached, for lack of a better word. And so I guess my question is, what strings are attached with this money, if we were to get it?
This planning funding is available on a regular basis for communities to, plan around things like water. So, and then what you'll do with development plans. So it is for us to produce something that we'll be guided by. And we're not hard tied to it, but we are doing it for a reason, to get to ramp off to, it'll help us when applying for other funding. If that's, if we base it on what we've produced there.
Okay, because I know one of the questions that we keep hearing over and over, and I think, all five of us have said it at one point, is a comprehensive village plan, right? And so, I mean, is this our start to something like that?
Trustee Kiefer, Board of Trustees, I think it helps basically set a tone, so you'll be able to use that for what you can do in the overall plan. And say, we've done this, we've found that out, and let's go ahead and use that when we're going to further develop our overall plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I would maybe just clarify one point, and I think our colleague on this board, George knows very well. Sometimes the word comprehensive is in the eye of the beholder, right? I think the extent that we believe that we have an opportunity to use these funds to, if you will, start the process and get us through a planning process that may be at a 30,000 foot level, that gives us some benchmarks and some ideas and points us in a direction. And then we may want to drill down on some of those areas to develop more concrete, if you will, plans and deliverables. But I think my perspective is that we have a great asset, and we all know it, and we see it as it's working today. Having a broader, if you will, understanding of what the community would like to see the asset be, and then having us then use that to fund different pieces of it. Keep in mind, this is a plan, right? And so it's kind of like the conversation we just had about the water, right? How are we going to water this facility? How are we going to do these sort of things? So I do think that to get to your point more succinctly is, yes, this is priming the pump to get, if you will, to use that term, to get the comprehensive study underway and hopefully leave a blueprint, if you will, for those who might follow us to continue to develop this facility. So with that,
I'd like to say a couple things, Mayor, if I could. You know, I attend the Agriculture Committee meetings periodically, and today I attended. And Sue Brawley brought up the plan that Joe did, her husband, who's an architect, did for us for free about, God, I bet it was 10 years ago. We also had some planning done just in site planning by an architect under Ann Simon's watch. But none of those most of those master plans that were done were very site oriented and not oriented towards strategery, not oriented toward, to use an old
term.
Saturday Night Live term. So I think this plan should be comprehensive in that it's not just a site plan. It's a plan for the Agri-Nature Center to determine how the goals fit into those site plans, how the money flows, where the money comes from, who should be manning or personing the Agri-Nature Center and its programs. So it's a full lens of studies within one plan that provides a blueprint for the Agri-Nature Center that could take it to the next level, and even help us get more money, as the mayor said, by using that plan as a kind of jumping off point for other grants. And it'll put us further along than, say, the Village of Corrales, who sounds like is interested in doing similar things. So I see it as being a really positive step and a really positive kind of almost thank you for what all of the Agri-Nature Center managers have done from the very beginning. And I think it honors also Mayor Abraham. You know, people loved him and hated him, but he did have vision, and his vision was this Agri-Nature Center, and we wouldn't have one if it weren't for that. So all of that gets rolled up into a comprehensive plan that could really help it just be even better than it is today. So I fully support this.
All right, with that, that was a great closing.
Sorry.
With that, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Ranovich?
Yes.
Trustee Reinell?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we get to old business. Resolution ordinance number 303, adoption of an ordinance amending the text of 9.2.3 definitions, 9.2.6 transfer of development rights regulations, 9.213 gateway district zone, 9.214 village center zone, 9.218 off-street parking regulations, and 9.222 sign of comprehensive zoning code to remove duplicate and unused terms, modify existing formatting for consistency and clarification, and I'm gonna have a drink of water, and update all standards to meet applicable specifications and requirements. This is a continuation from the October 21st, 2025 meeting. Mr. Chappell, would you please swear in all the individuals who will be speaking on the ordinance?
Would everybody that is going to speak on this stand up and raise their right hand? Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Thank you very much. Ms. Schultz, would you please get us started yet again?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Rael and trustee members. This is the third hearing on ordinance number 303 related to the zoning code's definition section and its sign ordinance. I'll give just kind of a 30-second pitch of what we're talking about again. This effort seeks to consolidate all the definitions from the code into the definitions section. They were kind of sprinkled throughout the code in their applicable sections. That's why there are so many sections referenced in the title. From someone who's using the code, it's really hard when the definitions aren't in one place, so that's primarily a cleanup action and not a substantive change. The amendments to the sign section, section 22 of the chapter, are substantive in nature. It's a pretty large rewrite of the village's sign code to make it, I would argue, easier to enforce, easier to interpret, and easier to understand from someone wanting to submit a permit for a sign. This body has had a couple of extensive discussions on the code changes at its first and second hearing. There were amendments made at both of those hearings. What you find in your packet is a red line version where the text in black shows all of the changes incorporated as they came out of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and everything in red reflects things that this body has done in both September and October. There are kind of two policy discussions that are still lingering from the October hearing. Those relate to pole-mounted signs and lit signs, or illuminated signs rather. So there's a matrix starting on page 112 of your packet with some discussion items for the board to consider. It is the board's purview to take up these policy discussions or not. These changes are not necessary for the code to function. It's really a policy discussion amongst yourselves on if you want to prohibit pole-mounted signs or not, or if you want to further restrict illuminated signs. With that, I'll be here for any questions and happy to answer anything I can.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schultz. Ms. Clerk, is there anyone signed up to speak on any of these matters?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Vincent Sanchez, if you would please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Vincent Sanchez, 6802 Rio Grande. Since duplicitous or unused language is deemed as one of the reasons to remove build to line from the definitions, I'm forced to ask, is this the reason the village code was not enforced with the issues pertaining to what I've presented continuously for the last few years? You may be thinking it's ridiculous to harp on about one definition, but erosion happens little by little. And from my point of view, this removal is that erosion. In my reading of the code, I agree. Build to line is not being used anywhere else, but that's part of the problem. The definition itself says approved by. To me, this is referencing a unique condition compared to the standard setback. Further, if different from, which it also states, makes build to line unique from the standard, requiring approval by the board, which points to and applies to a variance. What I believe has been neglected is that relationship of standard setback layout and the interim before a variance is approved. This defining area in space that is being proposed but not allowed yet is the bridge between the standard application and the non-standard request. Build to line, I believe, was supposed to define what is to be proposed, the very thing that requires the variance. If the elimination of build to line happens, am I to believe the village will stop consciously deciding to ignore language of the code? Otherwise, how is one definition in a digital world a problem? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. With that, Mayor concludes public comment on this item of business.
Okay, we'll now bring it to the trustees. I think the way we approached these amendments before was we took them one at a time. But before we do that, we need a motion to adopt the ordinance, to put it on the table for amendment.
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance. Do I need to state the ordinance?
You can just use the 303 number.
Let me get back to it.
It's ordinance 303.
Ordinance 303.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that. Okay.
Okay, we have a second.
That's okay.
We have a second. All right. Now, let's, if you will, go to the two items that were of interest the last time we had a conversation, and then we'll come back and look at the ordinance in totality. Are you all okay with that? All right. right, so the first item was the pole-mounted sign, which is a issue that was raised at the last meeting with, basically, if you will, Shannon, would you please present this amendment and see how we feel about this?
Sure thing, Mayor Real. So the question amongst the Board of Trustees was, should pole-mounted signs be allowed in the village? The research that I had done prior to the last hearing did show that quite a few municipalities in New Mexico and nationwide do tend to prohibit pole-mounted signs. I think this is totally a policy and design call on what the Board of Trustees thinks is an appropriate look for the village. Pole-mounted signs can be a little easier and cheaper for businesses to construct, and so I think that's one of the reasons they're popular, is a business can obtain signage a little bit easier than having to go full-blown monument sign. Again, the distinction being whether there is a solid base mounted to the ground or not. So what you'll see in column 3 of this first line is potential language for this board to move. If you don't want to move this language, if you don't think pole-mounted signs are a big deal, you just move on from this item with no motion to amend the code. The kind of second part to the pole-mounted sign discussion, which overlaps on a page 113, was this question about banners on poles. And in my research, I couldn't find a way to make a distinction, Trustee Kiefer, this was your question, about how to allow only those on poles without it being one, content-based, and also without having to allow pole signs in the first place. So if it's the village's desire to allow those kind of flaggy type signs on a pole, the board should not prohibit pole-mounted signs because there would be no way to make a distinction. With that, I'll stand for any questions or discussion about pole-mounted signs.
Okay, any discussion? Trustee Kiefer.
I have one question. Thank you for doing the research, and I really appreciate that. On these, I guess, more banner-type pole-mounted signs that we're seeing in this amendment, this is gonna sound really bad, but can the village break its own rules? Like if we wanted to do holiday or we wanted to honor, if we have an ordinance against them, does that prohibit us from being able to do something as such?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Kiefer, that's a great question. Some zoning codes explicitly exempt their own municipality from having to follow zoning rules. It's kind of a mixed bag on whether a jurisdiction decides to do that or not. There's no language in the Los Ranchos zoning code that exempts us from our own rules, so we would be subject to any prohibition we put on pole signs here.
In this particular definition, or what we're, in this sign ordinance, could we make the exemption for this type of sign for us at this time? Does that make sense?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Kiefer, I suppose I don't see why the village could not exempt itself from the sign code in general. It would be something under the general regulation section. I would probably need 2 minutes to draft up the language real quick that says the Village of Los Ranchos is not subject to the provisions of this section or something along those lines.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on that particular item? We'll start with Trustee Renaud.
I just have one question. So is there a limitation to the height of the pole that someone would have to adhere to?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Renaud, yes, a pole would be considered a structure, and structures are regulated in the code by height. So it depends on the zoning district, whether you're commercial, you're residential, but pole height is certainly regulated already.
And in terms of its construction then, you know, I guess the winds that we have here in New Mexico are severe. So, you know, in looking through this, what my concern would be is what kind of structure needs to be in place so that we're not going to lose one of these and maybe hurt somebody. Could be a safety issue, as an example. I mean, is that something that we need to put in writing so that people understand that it's required?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Renaud, the village does require structural engineering on quite a few things in the code. I don't think it's standard to require structural engineering on signs unless we're talking billboards, which aren't allowed, so let's not talk about billboards. But we certainly could add that language, but I do think that would be a little bit non-standard. If a property owner constructs a pole-mounted sign or a monument sign that is to fall over, that is a huge liability risk for them. And so my assumption is that they would take it upon themselves to make sure that that thing is sturdy enough to make sure that it won't fall. But the village does not have kind of a checkbox for that.
Let me clarify just, if you don't mind, trustees, for a second. Trustee Reynaud, was your comment about the pole itself or about the banners? Because I'm not quite sure.
About the pole
About the pole?
itself.
Okay, thank you very much. Because the banners themselves are also, can be a challenge, because of the wind, but I just wanted to make sure, at least from my perspective, that we were talking about the pole. All right, Trustee Ranovich, go ahead.
So, Shanna, the light poles on, and I guess board and public, the light poles that we put on the 4th Street project, both the catenary light poles and the wooden standards, were designed to hold banners. So banners were originally contemplated to be put on those signs, and we just didn't. We ran out of money, and that was one of the value engineering kind of pieces that controlled that project. But I don't quite understand why you can't exempt that type of banner. And by the way, the banners between I-40 and Old Town that the city of Albuquerque put in are all metal. And they have no canvas, no material that could fall off. So something like that could be done. But why couldn't it just say, I mean, poles that hold signs are pylons that hold signs. Why can't you just say in the code that banners can be placed on lights that are on poles that are used for lighting? I don't understand why that wouldn't be an easy way to regulate this.
Mayor Rael, Trustee Radnovich, before I answer that question, because this might help, Mr. Chappell just found something I think useful to the conversation, which is in the definition of sign, there is already an exemption for government. So it says signs that are required by law do not have to follow sign code, or signs of a duly constituted governmental body. So any sign that the village chooses to put up would not have to follow the regulations of the sign code.
What about Main Street?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Radnovich, I do not think Main Street would constitute a duly constituted governmental body. If their intention is to become a 501c3 of some sort, 501c3s are not governmental bodies.
That's right. All right, any other questions?
I was just gonna say though, I think Trustee Radnovich, and correct me if I'm wrong, Shanna, but I think if Main Street came to the body and said, hey, in collaboration, we want to do this type of flag, I think as long as we did some type of proclamation for that, it would then allow us, would that be?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Kiefer, yes, I think if it's the government placing the sign, that's what constitutes the exemption. Okay. And I suspect we will be partnering with Main Street on quite a few things, and I think that would be applicable there.
Yeah, I think that's obviously the government, i.e. the village, making the decision to support a request from a third party. I think that the interesting issue might be is where it may get difficult, and I would defer to our attorney, but if Main Street was constructing their own poles that weren't owned by the village, then you'd have, I think, a different perspective of that issue. But otherwise, if the village was putting it on their own and making that decision, I think that would be a way to work through that.
I have another question, Mayor.
Go ahead, Trustee Ranovich.
Excuse me. Shanna, how would you, and maybe this is a question for you too, Bill, how would you describe those pylons that are at I-40 and Rio Grande? I was actually personally involved in that project, and they are 3 poles that go up to then hold artwork about 150 feet above the freeway. They're beautiful. A lot of people, have mentioned that in the past. If it's artwork, is that something that is allowable by code, or would it be?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Radnovich, I'm going to look through some definitions unless Bill has an immediate answer. It's a very fuzzy line when you're talking sign code about what's a sign and what's art. Let me take a moment and see if our definitions have tried to address that in any way.
Mayor and Trustee Radnovich, she's looking, but I think that any kind of artwork or whatever that is supposed to convey a message and so forth is treated as a sign. There may be some exceptions. The issue you're talking about, though, is that is a governmental sign on governmental right-of-way and therefore would be exempted under this definition.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, so we are back at this, on this particular amendment. Do we want to prohibit these types of signs? That is the question, my friends.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to prohibit.
All right, the motion's been made to prohibit. Do we have a second?
Second.
Been seconded by Trustee Rhino. All right, and the amendment as proposed in this, if you will, on page 112, is the amendment that would prohibit pole signs in the village. Are you comfortable with the language as it is written?
I'm comfortable with the language as written.
All right, any more discussion on this motion?
Just one more thing, Mayor. You're going to miss this.
Trustee Radnovich.
If someone came up with a pole sign that was just gorgeous, artistic as well as a sign, Route 66 signs come to mind. There are variances to be able, for the trustees to be, and planning and zoning, I guess, to be able to approve something like that, yes?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Radnovich, variances are applicable to metrics in the code. So if there's a 15-foot setback and you want 10, you can ask for that.
I see.
Variances on prohibitions are not allowed. So use variances where the code says you can't do a drive-through, but you want to, you cannot ask for a variance for that. Where a sign type is prohibited, but you want it to be allowed, you cannot ask for a variance for that. So that would not be permitted.
Got it. Thank you.
Under the definition we just heard, they'd have to come to the village to have us put it up for them. Anyway, that is the issue. So any other discussion on this amendment? Seeing no other discussion, we'll go to the vote. Madam Clerk. And this will be amendment number 1, just because it doesn't have a letter on it.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Radnovich?
Yes.
Trustee Rhino?
Yes.
Motion to prohibit has been passed 4-0.
Very good. Now, do we have any other amendments?
Mayor Rael, there's not a proposed amendment, but there is a discussion about illuminated signs. And the discussion is whether there should be a provision added to the code that says no more than 40% of a sign can be illuminated. There was discussion on this at the last hearing. The staff recommendation is that this type of regulation is not necessary because the code already regulates the illuminance. So whether it's 20% of your sign, 40%, or 100%, you are going to be restricted by how much light is coming off of that sign because that is something that we can measure. There was some discussion about, some anecdotal discussion about if concentrating that light into 40% of a sign area might make the sign appear brighter. Trustee Radnovich had asked for me to reach out to some sign folks to ask about that opinion that I gave. And no one had kind of hard and fast information on this. They said, yes, generally that does make sense to us and that's our experience, but that's not something that we could measure. So I do think that continues to be kind of an anecdotal opinion. Staff can draft some language if it's the will of the trustees to pass a 40% restriction, but there's not language drafted at this time, and happy to answer questions for the discussion.
Okay. Since this was, I think, Trustee Kiefer, you had raised this issue, would you like to take the lead on the discussion?
I mean, I appreciate the due diligence that Shanna has done on this, and the back and forth discussion with the fellow trustees. You know, this isn't a sword that I'm gonna die by. I think I've made the point that I hope that 4th Street doesn't end up looking like a little mini Las Vegas in the future. But it hasn't so far. And I think people are getting more creative with the way that their signs are looking. And we have the protections of the lumens. So that makes me feel more comfortable. And so I'm
Okay.
willing to just let this go.
Okay. So we are now,
Can I
go ahead, I'm
just make one statement here?
right now.
You know, I agree with Trustee Kiefer, especially along 4th Street. What I'm concerned about in terms of lighted signs are the neighborhoods that are directly on either side of 4th. You know, and yeah, and even with the overhead light that we have now, the overhead lights that we have now, if you stand just a couple hundred feet off of 4th Street, you see those lights. And those lights then shine on the streets that are adjacent to 4th. So I think there needs to be some way for us to be able to guarantee that that residents, property owners who are again on either side of 4th Street are not going to be hindered by signs that are just overly lit, okay? And I agree, I mean, it's arbitrary, there's really no way to determine that, but I guess just the concern that I have is to ensure that we don't disrupt those neighborhoods.
Mayor Rael and Trustee Rhino, I think there are a couple of protections that will help this issue. One, any illuminated sign in addition to the foot Lambert measurement also has to comply with the village's Night Sky Protection Act and the dark skies provisions. And that talks a lot about light spill onto other properties. So you've got that layered on top of the foot Lambert's measurement. And then Trustee Kiefer did propose an amendment at the last hearing that said illuminated signs need to be extinguished by 11 p.m. And so they should be turned off completely in the evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this topic? If not, we can then move to the code or to the entire packet. I know that there was some conversations. I think Trustee Radnovich, you had sent some comments to Shanna. I believe that they were incorporated. Is that correct, Shanna?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Radnovich, yeah, you'll see in the red line version that there are comments from Trustee Radnovich and others depicted in red text.
Should we, just for purposes of making sure that we're all being thorough here, go through those? I don't know how, I've seen they're fairly extensive, but this is what we have to do so that we can make sure we've done the right thing for the community. So Shanna, would you walk us through as you go through this? And you feel free to give her some water, John, because she's going to need it.
Mayor Rael, yes, thank you. I'm still scrolling to the top. Okay, I'll cite the page number in the packet I'm on and where the red text shows up, and I'll just describe the change a little bit. So on page 117, this body passed a new definition for banner sign. That was not something that was regulated before or was proposed to be regulated, so that will be a new type of sign that the village will regulate.
Would you mind reading it just so that folks in the audience, and especially at home, don't have the actual verbiage.
Yeah, absolutely. A banner sign means a temporary sign made of fabric, vinyl, plastic, or other flexible material that is typically hung, suspended, or affixed to a building, fence, or other structure by ropes, cords, brackets, or similar devices. So that's a new definition for banner sign. That's on page 117. I am going to scroll until I find some more red text. On page 126, there is a definition for green, what was green infrastructure. This was a request of Trustee Radnovich. What the code said was green infrastructure means the creation of plant or tree areas, gardens, etc., on an individual lot or throughout an area to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and urban heat effects and clean the air and stormwater, used in conjunction with low impact development. The amendment here is to change that from green infrastructure to green stormwater infrastructure. That's a more standard industry term for what that definition is getting at.
Okay.
On page 127, there is a new definition for an illuminated sign. The code regulated illuminated signs, but didn't actually have a definition for it, so this was a great amendment. This proposes to say an illuminated sign means a sign that is lighted by an artificial light source, either by means of illumination from within the sign, internal, or from an external source directed at the sign face, external.
Could I interrupt for 1 second, Shanna? I found another one, very small, and Fred may be able to help us here. On page 120, there's a definition of a clear sight triangle, and I've always thought that clear sight triangles varied based on the radius of the corner. So it's not always 25 feet distance, but it's yeah, based on radius, and so it varies.
Mayor Rael, Trustee Radnovich, I agree with you. I do think our definition of clear sight triangle is very bad. However, this code amendment does not make substantive changes to definitions that aren't related to signs. And so we're a little scope limited.
Okay.
I would love to amend that at a future date, and I hope I can, but that's outside the purview of what this item was noticed for.
Thank you.
We should just put a little note on that, and I am sure we're going to be looking at these over and over again. So that may be one to come back to. All right.
Absolutely, Mayor Rael, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. I was on page...
We're 127.
Sorry to interrupt.
127, okay, that's okay, thank you. Gonna keep moving. I'm at page 133, no more changes yet. 136. 139. On page 141, the definition of sidewalk today says a sidewalk means an improved pedestrian surface that is typically located adjacent to a roadway. This was, again, a request by Trustee Radnovich to add the word "or street" at the end to make sure that we're contemplating sidewalks on both roadways and streets.
Is that a amendment that we voted on, or is that a recommended?
Mayor Rael, that was voted on at the first hearing.
Okay.
Moving on to page 144, I believe that this came from a conversation with Trustee Reinow. This is for the definition of transfer of development rights. Development rights is kind of a complex system in the code, and there are a lot of associated definitions with it. And so there's a cross-reference added to the end of this long definition that says, "See also," and it lists all the other definitions that are associated with a transfer of development rights. So if someone is looking at the definition of a TDR, they can see all the other terms that they also need to go look at.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep going. I'm to page 155, still looking for new red text. Okay, I'm on page 160. We've now entered the sign code. There are two new general sign regulations this body passed. The first one, letter H, says that signs shall not employ reflective materials that cause glare onto adjacent roadways or properties. and a new letter I that says temporary signs 4 square feet and smaller are exempt from the duration/timeframe limitations. Moving down to page 163, there is some stricken text. The stricken text is a permit shall be required by each tenant with signage on a single freestanding multi-tenant sign for multi-tenant buildings or structures. The text to replace that will read, once a freestanding multi-tenant sign has been approved, individual tenants shall not be required to obtain permits for their respective panels or changes to tenant identifications on that sign. Moving down to page 164, there is stricken text in subsection L that says temporary sign permits shall be valid for an initial 60 days. This time period may be extended. That is stricken because it was conflicting with other language about when temporary signs would expire. And there is a new text in this section that says temporary signs 4 square feet and under do not require a permit. Moving down to section 9222.4, there is stricken text to remove from the code that says larger signs may be approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission for large buildings and large developments through a site development review and application approval process, if in scale with the size of the building or distance from the roadway. This is kind of nightmare language. This is trying to reinvent the variance process. If someone wants to do a larger sign, they should just go get a variance. So we will strike this language and they will defer to the variance process. Down on page 165 in subsection N, there is existing language that says temporary signs are permitted in commercial zones under the same regulations governing temporary signs in residential zones, except that because of the greater vehicle and pedestrian traffic and the greater density of use, temporary signs in commercial zones may be larger, with the new text to say, provided the total square footage does not exceed the maximum allowed in the zoning district. This was intended to clean up kind of an ambiguous regulation about how big commercial temporary signs could be. This body passed that in October.
Mayor, may I ask a question on that?
Sure. Trustee Kiefer.
Is there a time frame on temporary signs in the commercial zone?
Mayor Rial, Trustee Kiefer, let me see if I can find the temporary sign. There are time frames for all temporary signs, whether you are in residential or commercial. And I will just need one moment to locate that.
Is your thought to prohibit that or to extend?
Well, my fear is, right, that someone leaves a temporary sign up if there's no time frame in the commercial zone.
Mayor Rial, Trustee Kiefer, there is language somewhere. It's about 30 days with a 30-day extension. I just can't.
And I thought there was. I just want to make sure that it's in here before we approve it, and then we find out later on potentially it accidentally.
Found it. On page 167 in section 9.2.22.9, this governs temporary signs in residential areas, which also governs temporary signs in commercial areas by reference. It says temporary signs may be placed on property in the above residential zones after issuance of a permit. That permit may be extended for not more than 30 days if required after its permitted term.
But that doesn't apply to signs that are 4 square feet or less, correct?
Mayor Rial, Trustee Benavides, that is correct. Those signs are exempt from the time limits and the permit. So the commercial signs are going to be subject to the same 30-day limitations.
Okay.
So if I could ask one other question, I noticed that, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Trustee.
I noticed that the apartment complex, the 3-story one over on El Pueblo, had just recently put up signs that were like, you know, I don't even know what it said, but there were probably 6 of them that say, we're having a sale or something, free hookups or whatever. Those would fall under that category? that you just described?
Mayor Royale, Trustee Radnovich, yeah, those would, I guess, I would need to know kind of how they were affixed to the ground, but it sounds like they are temporary
They're like
signs.
political signs. They're like yard signs, just temporary, yeah.
Those would be subject to those same time restrictions.
Okay, good.
Okay, moving on to page 166, we are now talking about illuminated signs. In subsection D1, the existing text says that signs may be illuminated by ground or structure-mounted fixtures that are shielded in such a manner that there is no illumination beyond the sign face. The next sentence is proposed to be stricken. It says signs using neon tubing must be approved by the planning director as being compatible with and complementary to the geographic location at which they are proposed. This again is a nightmare regulation where you are giving me discretionary decision that I do not want. Neon lighting is regulated elsewhere, and there is, or I'm sorry, it would be regulated by the general illuminated sign standards related to Foot Lamberts, Night Sky Act, that sort of thing. And so there's no need for me to have that power.
Would you feel better if that language was that maybe only on Wednesdays and Thursdays?
Mayor Royale, absolutely not, but thank you for offering.
All right,
The next change on this page is D5. This is one we just spoke about a moment ago, a new regulation that says illuminated signs must be extinguished by 11 p.m. unless the business is open to the public. The conversation we had about open to the public would be like an emergency vet or a gas station, that kind of thing. Moving down to page 167. In section A, there is some language proposed to be stricken about sending a text to TextMyGov to request that a sign permit be extended. This body chose to strike that language at my suggestion. I don't think it's good for a zoning code to kind of name a platform, a tech platform that we might not use in the future. So people will just go through the normal means, phone call, email, those kinds of things that tend to live on. Also on that page in subsection 2, the regulation starts with a property may have 2 temporary signs of no more than 6 square feet on each of 2 sides. This next part is supposed to be, or proposed to be stricken. Advertising a garage, yard or estate sale, special event or other function, or conveying other messages. A big point of this sign code update was to get rid of content-based regulations, and that was kind of a lingering content-based regulation, so that was a cleanup this body did in September. And that's it. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much for going through that. I know that was tedious, but I think worthwhile to make sure we've all looked at this one more time. So now I'll go to the trustees for a conversation. We'll start with Trustee Benavides.
I just want to point out what I think might be a potential error that would be easy to correct on page 158 under Economic Development Plan. The first sentence, an economic development plan may be required. Okay, so I'm focusing on may be. And then you go to bullet point A, it says site development plans for a project area shall have an economic development plan. So do you see a contradiction there?
Mayor Royale, Trustee Benavides, the distinction that comes to mind is that the may is associated with any development and the shall is associated with a site development plan. You can have development that does not require a site development plan. So I think the distinction being made here is if you're required to have a site development plan, which is going to be new construction or construction over 20% of an existing building or new commercial construction, all of those will always require the economic development plan if they're in the zone district. But if you're doing development on your site, which is maybe adding 5% to your building, the village could require the economic development plan, but it would not be required.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, Trustee Kiefer.
Shanna, the only question I have, and maybe I missed it, and I know Mr. Sanchez keeps talking about the build to line, but when we went through definitions, I didn't see where it was stricken. Was the definitions we went through only the additions and not the strikeouts? And do we know how many besides build to line were stricken?
Mayor Rael, Trustee Kiefer, the draft before you shows the changes as they have been recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. In previous packets, you had kind of two documents. You had the red line version, which showed every strike through and underline that P&Z did, and then you had a clean version. This is kind of the next iteration, which is the clean version, plus what you all have done in October and September.
And I'm not a builder, and I'm definitely not a planner. So again, walk me through the difference between setback and build to, and take me kindergarten level, please.
Mayor Rael, Trustee Kiefer, a setback is how far back you have to build from or how far back you can build from a property line. A build to line kind of thinks about it in the reverse. It's how far towards the property line that you can build. They are really saying the same thing in kind of a backwards way. And it's not, in my opinion, it's not necessary to have both because you're regulating the buildable area in the same exact way. If it's this body's desire to have the definition of build to line in the code, that's a policy choice by the body, but I would request that you regulate it in some way, that if you're gonna create the definition, you also associate it with something that I can apply that definition to. Otherwise, it's kind of a useless definition in the code.
So just for clarification, if I might, Trustee Kiefer. So Shanna, so if we were to say the setback and or build to line, would that confuse the issue even more so?
Mayor Rael, I'm not sure it would confuse the issue, but I also don't know that it would help it, because in terms of a definition, you would look for where in the code the word build to line is used to see how to apply that definition. And if there continues to not be a regulation associated with build to, I will say it doesn't hurt. Having a definition that doesn't exist anywhere in the code does not hurt my interpretation of the code in any way, but it is a long zoning code, and so I think there's always an intention to kind of cut things that aren't used. But if it's this body's desire to put that back in, I would never interpret an application using the word build to line, but it could be in the code, no harm, no foul.
Okay. Would we have a means of doing that this evening in terms of a definition, or?
Mayor, if I
we
might,
want to- Go ahead.
might object. Setbacks are used in two ways in the code. And I think between the two ways that they are used, it covers a build to line, whatever that happens to mean. For instance, setbacks are saying you cannot build closer than this particular point to the right of way. In the village center zone for the palindrome contracts, it gives a minimum setback which says you must build to this point back from the right of way or the street. And so between the positive and negative interpretation of the setbacks that you build to this line, you must build a minimum or you cannot build closer to, I think the concepts overlap, totally.
Mayor Rael, I think it would be within this board's purview to put that definition back in. I could read a motion if you're interested in that, where it would read something like, the body moves to reinstate the definition of build to line as defined as, and I would read the existing definition.
Would you read the existing definition just so that we're clear?
Yeah, build to line means a line drawn on a subdivision plat, a site development plan, or a plot plan indicating a plane up to which structures must be constructed when such lines are approved by the board if different from setbacks established in this chapter.
Wow, that's an interesting the last piece of that is the real issue.
Right.
Because if they're supposed to mean the same thing, why use setback as a criterion to,
Well, and that's one interpretation. The other interpretation would be is that the criteria is the setback is 25 feet, but we're only gonna let you build to, to 20, 30, 33 feet or something.
Well, and there are reasons for a line like that, because there is proof out there that buildings that are built closer to the road, for instance, slow down traffic.
Well, what say you, my friends? I understand the rationale for taking it out in that we don't have it, but I also appreciate the, if you will, the nuance of it as it relates to, I just want to make sure, again, Mr. Chappell, does this create, as you described it, it's a bit of a, what would I say? It's a bit of a sticky wicket, as they say, not showing which one you actually have to use when you're developing a project.
Yeah, Mayor, if and it's fine, personally, if you want to put that back in. However, if you don't put in some ordinance that says when the planning department in this village is entitled to use that line, then it's there, but there's no authority to use it to determine any line. Okay, you've got a definition. So you then also need to go back and say, under what circumstances are you going to say because it's a variance, or it's going to be, if you say there's a minimum setback, that establishes a line. That's what happened in Paladrone. They got a 5-foot setback, and then you've got, maximums, and you got or minimums. You got to be at least this far back. If you want another way to establish a line, that definition will work, but you've got to turn around and say, in what circumstance can it be approved, and is that something in addition to like a variance to a setback, or when does it apply? And so, and I think the rationale, and when it was taken out, which I didn't necessarily take it out, was that if you don't have any authorization to establish a build-to line, then it's just a dangling definition that could never be used.
So may I suggest on this particular, at least my perspective is, originally this was about the sign ordinance, and we took a lot of other definitions. There may be some opportunities to look at these definitions again in the future ordinance, and maybe give us an opportunity to see if we can find some definition, some way to apply it if we choose to put it back in. Because it sounds to me that it could become a really challenging issue to enforce in some fashion, and I think our intent here was to try and clarify and give good direction to the planning director and or the staff. So I don't know if you all feel the same way, but that's sort of my first take on this. But I'll defer to trustees.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Trustee Kiefer?
you see the hamster turning?
I see the little legs going.
No, so to make sure I understand what your suggestion was, Mayor, is to leave it and then circle back around at another time and figure out how we're going to implement it. Is that your suggestion?
Trustee Kiefer, no, my suggestion was let's not put it in tonight, because I do think that Mr. Chappell raises a point that we need to make sure that we have a regulation or a structure to how it applies. And that will take a little more time, and probably have to go back to P&Z to have them review that. And that way we can at least put that on the table. There'll be other opportunities for us to review these. I'm sure there's several other codes that we've talked about before. So that was my suggestion.
And Mr. Chappell, to make sure that I understand, if we added it without any type of direction at this point, is that problematic? if there's nothing that's referencing.
Mayor and Trustee Kiefer, from a legal perspective, it is problematic because if someone comes in and says, I'm somehow relying on this and there's no way to implement it, we have a dispute which we have no answer for. In other words, if the Bill 2 line has another ordinance that says you can approve a Bill 2 line which is different than the setbacks, that's like a variance, and you go through that process.
Understood.
But unless you have a way to implement it, it will never, ever come up in a plan because the only thing that you have is setbacks that are implemented by another ordinance. In other words, a setback is in a definition, but the application of the setback is in an ordinance that says in this zone you have to have this setback or you have this minimum setback or something. So it hasn't created any problems as far as I know. I've not been here some of this time, but it would simply never come up because there's no authority to use it.
Well, and that's my point is it hasn't come up because there's no authority to use it. So is it truly problematic or just sitting there as a tick mark of we've got to circle back and close this loop?
Yeah, Trustee Kiefer, I missed a period of about 4 years that were pretty tumultuous around here. But in the 15 years before that and the 2 years since I've been back, it's never come up and never been used. So I don't know that it creates a problem to have it there because it's been there all along.
On that point, just hang on, Trustee Benjamin, just one clarification. But you did make a point that I think is worth at least understanding. If someone out there relies on that definition to make a decision, and that we have no ordinance or it means nothing, I think that's also important to understand that the folks out there might look at these definitions and realize, well, we got a Bill 2 line here, and we'll just do it to the Bill 2 line. And then we come to the plan department, the plan department says, well, it's a definition, but it means nothing. I guess that's my only concern, is providing some clarity in the future, or for anyone who might be looking at using the code as a way to develop their project.
Yeah. And Mayor, I think our previous acting planning director went through and tried to eliminate all of the definitions that were not used.
That were not used.
That was not a part of the signed ordinance, for instance, that we went into originally. And so when it was deleted, I said, fine, because you look at the definition, where is the Bill 2 line? It doesn't say how close it is, how far it is, whatever. How do you establish it? And if you establish a Bill 2 line that's different than a setback line, you're going to have to go through a variance process. So, and it just creates confusion as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Let me ask
Trustee
a
Benavides,
question for clarification in regards to Bill 2 line. Let's look at the possibility that some drawings will go beyond the village, right, for approval. And an example of that would be a construction drawings that would need to get permitted by the county. Would we ever have a Bill 2 line on a construction drawing? And that's one example. Another example is, let's say something was appealed and went to district court, and there was a site development plan and it referenced a Bill 2 line, and the state has a definition for Bill 2 line. Would that really complicate the issue if we don't recognize that as a definition?
Mayor and Trustee Benavides, into this definition, in order to establish a Bill 2 line, it must show up on the plat, right?
Yeah.
And so on what basis does the planning or zoning or whatever have an opportunity or the authority to establish a Bill 2 line that cannot also be handled in a in a setback situation? And if you're going to go get a building permit, the village has to do a zoning certification in order to authorize the building permit. And I don't know how the village would approve a building permit with a site plan that had a build to line that wasn't somehow approved. I mean, you just can't just put it on there.
Well, I mean, they could replicate the requirement, right? They could say, this is a build-to line, and this is with the setback, right? They could call it out in two different ways. For what reason, I don't know. But what I'm saying, is it possible that site development plans or plat drawings or perhaps even construction drawings could go beyond this municipality? And if there was a reference to that, and does a county have a definition for that? Does the state have a definition for that? So that might be a reason to have a definition for that, even if we never use it in our zoning code.
Mayor Rael, Trustee Benavides, I just want to comment that if someone turned in plans to the department and used the phrase build to line in lieu of setback or something when they're showing dimensional standards on their drawings, we would ask them to correct that so that we can be sure that what we're approving is something that we are authorized by the code to approve. So I would have problems accepting plans that say build to line if it's related to a regulation that we call a setback in our code.
Well, they might have both, why do a duplicative effort? But perhaps there's a reason why they might say this is the setback and this is the build to line, right? I don't know. And if the county has a definition for that and the state has a definition for that, should we have a definition for that as well? That's what I'm asking. I'm okay just forgetting about it for now, but I'm just throwing that out there for you to think about.
All right, well, I think we've built two line to death here. May I make a suggestion? Look, go to line. Yeah, go to line. I still think that if we want to include that in a definition, we ought to have we ought to sort of have something that the planning department can interpret as this is what it means. And may I again go back to the suggestion, if we approve what we have here, and then we can come back and look at this, and Shanna, if you can look at what the state has and what the county has, if they use this term, and if it is interchangeable with the setback requirements, then maybe we can come in with, obviously, we'll be back at P&Z at some point. We can include that at the next round of reviews. I mean, I will say that, and I will say this in the process of just having this conversation, that I do appreciate Mr. Sanchez bringing the issue and his concern with this. So I don't want to lose the opportunity for us to go back and see if there is something that we're not getting this evening, or that maybe there is a definition in state or county ordinances that we can deal with at the next go round on this. Okay. All right. We are now read through the whole thing several times. Are there any other questions? If not, we have a motion on the floor to approve. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mayor, we have a motion and a second.
In a second. All right, having seen no other issues, Madam Clerk, please read the roll.
Thank you. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yeah.
Trustee Ranovich?
Yes.
Trustee Reinao?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, look, I got to tell you, this was a Herculean task, and I want to thank. We have two of our P&Z officials that will be coming up here in just a few in the next month or so. But we thank them as well for their work. Obviously, they spent a lot of time like we did. Now we'll move on to our next items, which is our Chief Financial Officer's report.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. Before you is the cash report for October 31st, 2025. We have an ending cash balance of $14,375,002.76. This is a decrease for the month of $294,144.29. However, we still do have a year-to-date excess of revenue over expenditures of $67,552.93. Listed below that is our four significant expenditures three significant expenditures, and also a note that there were 3 payrolls that processed in October. So there's an increase there for payroll expenditures. And then one unusual item due to timing delays between checks that were voided during the month. I stand for any questions.
Okay. Seeing no questions, thank you, Ms. Silva. Appreciate you staying as late as you have. We'll move now to item B, Mr. Avila, department updates.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry, I did have one question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
I apologize. I've never heard of Anchor Engineering LLC. Can someone illuminate me? What do they do, and what did they do for us? We paid them $6,000. Just for engineering?
Yes, Mayor, Trustee Radnovich. So they were the engineering firm that we used for the 4th Street, the 8747 4th Street irrigation. So the Paseo del Norte open space irrigation system on that property.
Oh, I see.
So they did design work for that.
I see. Huh. I'd never heard of them.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll go now to Mr. Avila.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Trustees. We have reports here from the different departments. Hopefully you had time to look through them. One of the items that call your attention is the ICIP projects. We'll be taking that to the legislature to see their top legislative requests. One of the things we've had before and probably will be the case this year again is that keeping transportation projects separated from facilities type projects may be asked for, and that's just because that's been the trend there at the state. So that might be something that weighs in here, but right now these are the top 14 projects, and we concentrate on the highest ranking ones at this point. I want to point out that on January 7th, that there's going to be a legislative town hall here at the Village Hall at 6 o'clock that night. We have the opportunity to do a groundbreaking, and I leave that out there sometime in January, for the old Village Hall project that's been moving along and now has approvals to move forward on the finishing up at Old Village Hall and Green Valley Road. So we'd like to lock in a date and invite folks to come. And the reason I bring that up is because we may have the same date the opportunity to invite those folks. So I want to make sure that I have that out there for you. I want to point out that in public safety that Fred has cooperated with Keene, and they've gone out and they've taken care of these speed humps that you've seen put in here recently. They tried to get the striping on those last week, but had to get pushed out a couple of weeks, so we'll see them the next couple of weeks, hopefully if the temperature's correct, to get some of that striping on those humps. And that came from studying where they do the best good and get those places in, and that involves crosswalks as well. And that's that map you see on the right there. And so that from that, they moved to get that done. I like to point out that planning and zoning has been also working on moving 2 persistent cases to conclusion. It's just been a long, these are years-long cases, and we're getting closer to getting them cleaned up. Let's put it that way. One of the things that also that Fred has done here is work on getting some more flock cameras up, and these are the ones that read license plates for later coming back, and if something had happened, they can identify the vehicle, identify the people perhaps when there's a crime reported. So I believe it's another 6 flock cameras to the 5 we already have around the village, and that'll help out getting those identifications. And also on December 3rd, that's when the the Homeowners Association, that's a group with it has several homeowners associations coming together. They'll be here, and they'll be going over safety and a neighborhood watch. And that's put together by Fred as well. So I'm not just talking about Fred to just talk about Fred. He's helping out through different departments, and we've got some more things that he's doing here that are going to be that the village would be of note to make sure that we go to, like the Homeowners Association safety update. And then in the AgriNature report, you have that, and you have the bigger report. We've gone through some interviews, and hopefully we'll have some candidates soon before the board. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
No questions? We good, Trustee Rana?
I don't have any questions this month.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Avila. Now we'll go to trustee reports. We'll start with Trustee Ratnovich.
Bear with me again.
And just for the public's sake, these are Board of Trustees will take on, they will not take any official votes on these issues. These are just issues that we all feel like we need to have a conversation about. So we'll start with.
I don't have much this month. I did want to say that while I was disappointed in the outcome of the election this month, it does point out, in my mind, that there's still a lot of division in this village. And I think we need to do something about that in the long term. And I think we need to continue to try to hear from the public and move those divisions aside so that we can get more things done that help the village be who it wants to be. That's my only comment.
Okay. Thank you very much. Trustee Reyna.
Yeah, I guess the major concern that I have and that we've been discussing for many, many months has just been the traffic issue. Because Rio Grande and Fourth are becoming, I think, hazardous. You know, cars are speeding. And the thing is that, you know, that in order to get on Rio Grande, and I know, Mayor, you've had the same kinds of issues, it sometimes takes a while for us to be able to even get on Rio Grande. And I've talked with Fred about this, and you know, and one of the issues that we have is, to what degree then do we want to use speed humps or stop signs in order to slow down the traffic? And you know, sometimes the only way that we're able to get across from the east-west cross streets is to find a street that has a stop sign. Mm-hmm. And the stop sign then stops the traffic, so you're able to get on Rio Grande, okay? But it's been a continual issue, and so it's something that I think as a board we need to discuss and to really come up with a kind of a policy on how we want to approach this whole, you know, traffic issue. Some would say that what we need to do is to get the traffic through as quick as possible. There are other residents that say, what can we do in order to make the traffic amounts less than what they are right now? and hopefully get people to use other arteries in order to get across to the west side. But I think it's been a continual problem, and it's gonna continue to grow, unfortunately. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. All right, Trustee Kiefer.
Oh, me. Thank you, Mayor. I actually have a list tonight, because I've been talking to a lot of people. And so I want to make sure that I bring up some of their thoughts and their concerns. One of them that I found that was really interesting, and I don't know how we explore this. I don't know if this would be Attorney Chappell, John, you, Mayor, I don't know. But I know this constituent had, I think, the same concerns that a lot of us have talked about of, you know, the beautiful large properties on Rio Grande and the difficulties of maintaining them, and us starting to see them get bought up to be sliced into 1 acre parcels. And they are A1 zoned properties. But his suggestion is, has anybody explored the idea of when a property moves from an ag exempt property, which they probably have the ag exemption, to a residential property, an A1 or an R1, depending on, you know, how they're going to classify it, penalties or something to disincentivize them financially and making the ag exemption more beneficial than what they would make in developing the property. And I thought that was super interesting because I'd never heard of, you know, kind of looking at it from that particular lens, but thought maybe it's something that we can look at and explore. So that was one thing. The other thing was, and thank you in the back for staying with me from Waste Management. And I'm curious to hear my colleagues, my fellow trustees and mayor, and even the public. I'd love to hear your opinions on this. I saw this in the Village Vision, what to recycle, what not to recycle. And I'm getting more and more concerned, and I kind of brought this up before, saying I think we get, at least when I lived in Albuquerque, it seemed like Albuquerque does more than what we're getting from Waste Management specifically. But one of the things that really just kind of floored me was when it said, no paper towels, napkins, paper plates, and tissues can be recycled. Well, they're paper plates, they're tissue. I mean, that's what a lot of people use. And I mean, I would much rather see a list of what can, because I think it's going to be a lot shorter than what I see can't in this particular arrangement that we have. And I know there's an RFP that's coming up at some point. I don't even know where we are with it or what. But to me, these are things that have to be addressed in that RFP to be able to get my support on continuing this. Is there's not a lot of everyday household items that seem to be recyclable. So I'm really concerned about this.
Okay.
It's Trustee Kiefer, it's the biological part of recycling paper that has been used for food and other things. So you can't wash them off like dishes. And they could cause environmental problems if they were put in with recycling. On the other hand, I have seen composting going on in places like Colorado that will compost everything. Meat, dishes that have been used. There's almost anything can be composted if it's handled correctly. But I don't think, and I'm not casting any aspersions on the company, but Waste Management. But you'd have to have that kind of capability to deal with it.
And trustees, may I just make one comment? I think it's really important. We are in the RFP process.
I
And
knew it was
so,
coming up at some point.
yeah, so I think raising the issue is appropriate, but we're also not in a position at this point to be able to
Respond.
And so I don't want to put anyone in the scenario where we have a process that we're violating our own rules. So
I will
but
also tell you, sorry.
But I do appreciate that this recycling issue is a lot more complicated than I think most of us think, but also maybe what we can do is have a one-on-one, John, maybe set up some times with each of the trustees and let's have a conversation. I understand the issue, so.
I was just going to mention, Mayor, that, and John, that they may already have contacted us, but a good friend of mine, and I may have even mentioned this, a good friend of mine owns, his daughter owns Soilutions, and they were having a very difficult time finding enough compostables to actually make soil, which is what they sell and compost. So maybe the village could arrange something with Soilutions if people in the village were interested in composting as opposed to, and I know we have a small program, but they would be able to take lots more than what we're doing right now. So there may be something there that we could look at as a place.
Okay. Thank you, trustee. The other thing is, let's see. So I implemented a Meet With Me. I'm calling it Talk Tea with Trustee Kiefer. It starts in January. It'll be the first Tuesday of every month. I put that on some social medias. I sent it via email amongst a lot of individuals, starting at different locations, and I'm going to do it monthly and hope that the public comes. Right now it's set for an hour, but if people really start coming and meeting with me, I'll extend those timeframes. So really excited about doing that. The other thing, and to Trustee Reinow's points about traffic. One of the things that another constituent talked to me about was maybe adding no big truck signs, especially on some of the residential streets that are being used as cut-throughs, and or weight limit signs. I don't know what the regulations are on using those types of signs, but maybe something we look at. The other thing was a stop sign, I guess is currently at El Pueblo and Guadalupe, and it's a three-way stop. And it currently is just a stop if you think you need to. It's an optional stop sign.
It's because of the wide radii on that corner.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people don't see it. So that, so the recommendation too was, well, a lot of it are the big trucks, and big trucks shouldn't be on Guadalupe Trail using it as a cut through to El Pueblo. So maybe if there's a way to put weight limit signs on that area to quit using it as a cut through, it might help.
If I could add to the discussion, sorry, I didn't mean to point. A friend of mine told me not to point anymore, to use more of a Jesus kind of a symbol. There are things that villages and other municipalities around the country and world have done that stop cut-through traffic by physical interventions that can do that. For instance, and I'm not suggesting this as a fix, but for instance, imagine Chavez Road with a dead end or a turnaround at Guadalupe. That would change the complexion of the traffic on Chavez Road immeasurably. Now, in that particular case, I'm not a traffic engineer, so I don't, or a traffic planner, but I do think about those things. And in that case, it probably would drive traffic into neighborhoods that don't want that. But there are companies around the country, firms, planning firms, that specialize in fixing, which I shouldn't say fixing, but in using planning and using other kinds of interventions that would help the traffic issue beyond speed humps and rumble strips and all the other stuff that we use that are a lot more, I'll call it elegant, and work. If you go to places like Boston or even Santa Fe, there are streets like that that just sort of don't let you go through. Yeah.
Stop.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Couple more things, Mayor, sorry.
That's right.
Fred, I don't know if you're aware, and I've called BCSO multiple times on a gentleman that's been sleeping on our property in the VC zone area, in the parking lot, or what is now a parking lot next to the apartments. And I've called, and I don't know, have you heard anything on their interaction with him? Okay, so I'd like to hear a little bit about that. And then that kind of leads me to, where are we with the increased fencing or barrier between the residents that live on Willow and our property on the VCs, on the project area side?
Oh, boy.
Trustees, now you're not going to get out of here before 10 o'clock. No, actually, myself and Shauna and John met with a couple of residents from Willow today and discussed those issues. Currently, I think there's some options that can be looked at, but there's nothing that we know of that is required fencing or a wall at this point. But I think we discussed some options with them on how to look at it. If the village wants to do it, we can put it in next year's budget, be a hefty price tag to build a wall. But the other thing is if that property is developed, that can be part of the site development plan to make the developer put that in. Currently, and Shannon and I talked about this today, the village does not, in their planning and zoning regulations, require a wall between commercial property and residential. It requires a landscape buffer. So that would be something you might want to look at down the road also, is this, if you have commercial properties abutting residential, that they require a wall. But we met with the two ladies from today. I think it went very well. We've got some ideas that we're going to talk to them about and talk to the mayor about and see if we can't get something done there.
Great, thank you. And then the gentleman that's been making that his home?
They have met with him numerous times, and he leaves and then comes back. They've had their mental health people come out, and that may be one of the ones that we use, the city of Albuquerque, with a contract that we have now with ACS to have them go and see what they can do with that. Okay. And I'll get with them on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, trustee. All right, trustee Benavides.
Yeah, I'll make this quick. First, I want to congratulate John Edward and Gwen Baldwin for being elected as trustees. And I want to say that there's not a lot of good things to be said about getting older, right? But you do learn certain life skills along the way that are very helpful. And so, you know, people say when you get older, you get wiser, right? And of course, I think the younger adults will probably say, yeah, that's just what older people say to make themselves feel better, right? But you do learn to do things like let go of things, right? When you're younger, things, there's all sorts of disappointments that happen in your life. It could be relationships, workplace issues, bad decisions that you made. And when you're younger, those things kind of linger and gnaw at you. But when you get older, you just learn to let it go. So I want to also say that there are certain things I won't let go of, and my number one fan would be my wife, Linda, that always comes to support me in these meetings, and our growing family and our home. And I have a lot of nervous energy, so I'll probably do something with my whatever free time I have. But thank you for allowing me to serve as your trustee, and maybe you'll be seeing more of me, who knows?
Thank you very much, Trustee Benavides. Let me just make 2 points, and then we'll move on to more fun things like going home. I do have a scope of work, Trustee Renaud and trustees, to put forth a study of Rio Grande from one end of the corridor to the other, to look at the issues that we've all been talking about. We have an opportunity, I think, to do some work in terms of even the issues that Trustee Kiefer raised as it relates to limiting the size of vehicles that might be going through our neighborhoods, et cetera. But our trusted public safety officer indicated to me today, look, let's do this holistically. Let's look at the corridor in entirety and see where the opportunities present themselves. For those of us who do live on Rio Grande, which I think I'm the only one who lives on Rio Grande, it is a very therapeutic place to live, because at night when I can't sleep, I count cars. if I can see them go by, because they go so quickly. But I'm making light of it because it isn't quite that nice at night or even the day. But my point is that I think we've got to look at this corridor as a whole. And look, one of the important pieces to recognize is that both Rio Grande and 4th, and Shanna, correct me if I'm wrong, and 2nd Street are on the major transportation plan of the COG. So when we look at the COG and how we relate to the regional transportation system, there are things that we have to comply with as it relates to the corridors. The big challenge, as we all know, for the village, and quite frankly for folks even south of the village, is we don't have enough bridges to cross the Rio Grande. And so as a result, when you have an issue on I-40, the closest bridge off of Rio Grande, believe it or not, is Alameda on Rio Grande. And, and decisions the village made years and years ago as it relates to Montano and to Paseo are what we're living with, because there is no other way for that traffic to get out, right? On 4th Street, it is some will argue that having more traffic on 4th Street helps our commercial businesses and gives our businesses an opportunity to grow. Others, obviously, as we heard tonight, the county is going to continue their program to reduce the lanes from Alameda all the way up to our village limits. And then we're going to continue that going into the village, which I think makes the village a very unique and great place to be.
Well, the city's doing it from Manal, right? From Manal down
And the city may be doing that, exactly. So my point is that, we can string corridors and expand orders, et cetera, and we know that traffic is like water. It finds the path of least resistance. But anyway, the point I'm just going to make is that I believe we need to do a study of the whole corridor on Rio Grande, number one. Number two, I think for as much as my friend, Trustee Radonovich here, expands on a lot of issues, I think the points that he makes on some of these transportation pieces are really important, and that is that there are other ways to manage traffic other than just speed humps. And I think that the village has taken that as their modality to slow down traffic, and I think, our residents generally appreciate that, because as that gentleman that was here earlier said, at least, we're paying attention. I'd like to see us do things like we just described as it relates to Guadalupe and El Pueblo. The fact is wide as that intersection is, we could easily have put a roundabout. You could have easily have done some bump outs on the curbs to provide more passages for children going to the school and restricting the cars so that that way they actually see something. You know, we could put a pedestrian walkway along El Pueblo that basically limits the size, the use of, because it's a huge boulevard, right? So anyway, those are things that we need to look at. I think the challenge for all of us is it all comes down to money, and it all comes down to what we can actually get done in a quick, if you will, fix. So, I mean, I think so all those issues are important for us to talk about, and I do think that at least getting a study of Rio Grande would at least deal with that issue. And who knows, maybe we need to go back and look at the transportation plan that the village did several years ago in totality and see if we need to update that and see if there's some other ways to deal with that. Last but not least, look, I would say to all of you, again, as I said earlier, I'm very proud of Los Ranchos and what we did and our citizens supporting, you know, this quarter cent to help develop our community. And that's a credit to all of you for being courageous enough to do the LIDA ordinance and to get the issue on the ballot and to presenting it to the community and to all our business folks that were very helpful and others in the community that helped get it through the finish line. So least to Trustee Benavides and to Trustee Radnovich, we have 2 more meetings for you to attend. We're going to, Madam Clerk, we are scheduled to have, you might give us the dates on our 2 meetings and the reason why we have 2 additional meetings.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we have a special meeting scheduled on 1 December, which is a Monday. You have your information in an envelope in front of you. Those are to hear some text amendments for some ordinances, so that way we can get your approval to publish and post. The meeting that's scheduled, the regular meeting scheduled on December 16th is to adopt, should the body so choose.
So, and the rationale for that is this is a very unusual situation the village finds itself in, and that is that 2 of our P&Z members became board members. And so we need to deal with those P&Z issues that they dealt with before they sit in your shoes, if you will. And if not, we would not have a quorum because...
I thought we needed 30 days to advertise.
No.
It's 2 weeks per state statute.
Per state statute. So we're obviously having to do a couple of things a little differently than we normally do, but nonetheless, I wanted to make sure that that information got out to the public so that folks that are maybe interested in these issues. So we'll have a special meeting on December 1 at the same time here, and then we'll have our regularly scheduled meeting on December the 16th. And then the last I would say is bring your pillow and your sleeping bag because the December 16th meeting is going to be a long meeting. There are lots of issues that are on that agenda. Having said that, everyone, thanks again for your work, and we now need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We are adjourned. Oops, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye. Just kidding.
The time is 9:32 and we are adjourned.
Recording stopped.
Thank you. Yeah, let's do. I've got. Let them know that I think we're gonna. Let me call you tomorrow. Let me give you a call tomorrow and we'll see what. All right, we can do it maybe on Friday.
Yeah, the other thing I was just mentioning is that I've done some discussion about what we can do with 4, 5, and 6. You know, and the discussion that I've had with a couple folks is that we're trying to limit who's in there. And one of the good reasons to do this is to look at open spaces. And I did this last couple of days. I went out in the morning, afternoon, and night. At night they're full.
Oh, sure, thank you. Do you guys compost anywhere in the
That's why I think we've got to have that conversation, but look, here's the dilemma
places
I
that,
find
places that really push it?
and it's